It is 3 p.m. on July the 24th, 22nd, 21st, 2026. I call the City Council meeting to order. Let the record indicate that all council members are present. The invocation will be led by Council Member Kimball and the Pledge of Allegiance by Council Member Nash King.
I'll ask each of you to pray in your faith as I pray in mine. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this absolutely beautiful, warm day that you have given us today. Heavenly Father, we ask you to look over these proceedings. We ask you to give this council wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. In your most precious name, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in honoring the nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Kimball and Councilmember Nash King. Council, I need a motion to approve the agenda. Councilmember Brown.
Move to approve the agenda.
Councilmember Kimball. A second by Councilmember Kimball to approve the agenda. All in favor signify by saying yes. All opposed, no. The motion approved is approved. Motion carries 7-0. Madam,
Can I make a proposal, sir?
sir.
Mayor, my proposal is that we forego the staff presentations for the following items on our agenda. RS 26108, RS 26109, RS 26110, RS 26111, RS 26112, and RS 26114.
City Attorney, is it appropriate to make that motion now?
I think you can make it at any time.
Is that a motion?
Is that a motion?
It's not a motion, it's a proposal for consensus.
Consensus?
That is, it's not even a process.
So it is in order. I'm going to ask the council to please let me speak back and forth with the attorney, please.
The presentations are a function of your governing standards that included, and so if you get a consensus among all council members, that a consensus among all council members or a motion would also be in order either way.
Okay, so we can do a consensus at this time. Is there a consensus to? Okay, it's 1, 2, 3.
No. Consensus neither.
Okay, so it's 4. Could you raise your hands again so we can clearly see it?
So if it's not unanimous as a consensus, then a motion would be in order if you wanted to do it by a majority vote.
Okay.
There's no consensus if everyone doesn't agree.
Councilmember Bass, would you want to make that? Motion?
Mayor, I would like to make a motion to forego the staff presentations on the following agenda items. RS 26108, RS 26109, RS 26110, RS 261 2611, RS 26112, and RS 26114.
Okay, it was a motion by Councilmember Bass to forego RS 26108, RS 109, RS 110, RS 111, RS 112, RS 114. Is there a second? Councilmember Nash King? Second by Councilmember Nash King. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. All in favor, signify. Councilmember Brown?
Respectfully, as stated, our governing standards currently call for having discussions on all of the items. It's only fair to the people who are here to hear them. And we have people from outside of the city here to present, that they should have the opportunity to present. Although based on the non-consensus, I can see I'm probably not going to get 4 to vote to continue on and have the respect for the citizens to actually discuss these items. So I would like to make a motion to amend to include discussion and presentation on items number 5 and 6, which is RS 26108 and RS 26109.
Councilmember Brown, would you repeat that again, please?
So motion to amend to include in presentation and discussion items 5 and 6, which is RS 26108, RS 26109.
Okay. There was a motion to amend. Is there a second? Is there a second? There's no you second. Second by Mayor Pro Tem. Is there any discussion on the amendment?
I do, sir.
Mayor Pro Tem.
My recommendation would be to add in as well RS 26-114, as it is in the best interest of the community to hear that presentation as it relates to those particular topics. Thank you.
So we have a motion on the floor and a motion to amend with a second, and now we've got an additional.
I'll rescind my amendment and rephrase, if you'll rescind your second. So a motion to amend to include in discussion RS 26108, RS 26109, and RS 26114.
Okay, the amendment was rescinded and reinstated to add, again, Councilmember Brown.
RS 26108, RS 26109, and RS 26114.
Okay, is there a second?
I do have a second on that, sir.
I see Councilmember Bass.
Mayor,
Is there a second?
There was already a
second?
second with
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem, second. Okay, Councilmember Bass. Discussion.
Mayor, our city manager, in a previous meeting, laid out for us the exact definition of a consent agenda. If it is my contention that if we, the city council members, have done our homework, and if interested parties have looked at the presentations which are posted online, then we do not need to spend an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours having these staff presentations and long discussions about these items. So in the interest of time, in the interest of efficiency, and in the interest of professionalism, I propose that we forego the presentations on these items. Thank you.
Councilmember Kimball.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is, in my opinion, there is, I think Councilmember Bass brought up some great points, but I think there needs to be a better process in doing this, just to, when we already have published this agenda, if we're going to move to a true consent agenda, it needs to be done before we get to this meeting. So we have people here that are here to hear these items. We should do that. If we want to move into a true consent agenda, we need to do it not when we're sitting at the dais, sir. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm just going to second what Councilmember Kimball said at this point. Thank you.
Councilmember Brown.
So we are moving, their motion has been made and seconded to do just what you said, Councilman Bass. The issue at hand here is an amendment to add 3 other topics, because if it is even a single council member who wants to discuss it, it no longer makes it a consent item. A true consent agenda and a true consent item means it would be unanimous. This is the concern that I've had about going to true consent presentations, is the ability for 4 to overrule what 1, 2, or 3 council members feel is important to discuss. That is the reason for the amendment. Those are 3 items that other council members feel we need to have a public presentation on. Thank you.
Councilmember Nash King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I can agree and see it from both perspectives, and one of the things is that it took 5 people to have a comment on one thing. And I think that is Mr. Bass' perspective on that if we do our homework, we should do our homework when we get here. When we do get to the items that's coming up, all this discussion like on one item, and it really wasn't anything other than a vote, that when we get to the items that really matter, that affect the city and the residents of Killeen, we should be precise, we should be focused and make our statement. If we had questions for staff, that should have been asked, because I hear that a lot. That should have been asked long before now. If you have constituents that have concerns, then you already know their concerns. Just put them out front so we all know those concerns, not a got you moment. And Mr. Mayor, with that being said, I really hope that we can go ahead on and vote on this item. Thank you.
If there's no other discussion, all in favor of the amendment signify by saying yes. Not in favor, no. Okay, the motion fails 4-2. Okay, now we'll go back to the original motion. And City Attorney, would you please repeat that so we can have a clear understanding where we at?
The original motion is to forego presentations on items with that end in, 26-108, 26-109, 26-110, 26-111, 26-112, and 26-114.
Okay. And it was second, so all in favor signify by saying yes. All opposed, no. Everyone voted? Okay, so that motion failed 4-2, 4-3. Okay, we're moving. Madam Secretary.
PR 26015, Colleen Starwood.
I want to say good evening, and I want to say this is the time that we recognize we do this once a month, and each council member selects a person out of the city, from the city, a citizen that has been such outstanding. We have a lot of outstanding citizens, but this is the time that we highlight one of our citizens, and this month opportunity is for Council Member Melissa Brown.
I'm a little bit shorter than him. It takes a village. This is something we often hear, but don't see truly embodied nearly as often. Tonight's recipient is truly what it means to be part of raising and growing a village, both literally and figuratively. There was a time when schools had room mothers, parent volunteers who would bake homemade treats for the students, take time to talk to them, and mentor the youth. Between being a room mother for 24 years and being a refuge for young men having family problems and leaving home, this individual was always paving the way for youth to go on and be successful. When these young people would be at a point they ran away from home or were kicked out of their house, she and her husband would take them in, make sure they stayed in school or learned a trade and got a job. Many of them have gone on to be successful members of our community all of these years later. As a member of Beta Sigma Phi International Sorority, she spent countless hours volunteering in and around our community, including working with young people to help them build floats for local parades, but more importantly, helping these youth build memories and learn invaluable lessons that have lasted a lifetime. Her internal beauty reflected on the outside, and she was named Valentine's Sweetheart by Beta Sigma Phi, and was even selected to represent the city of Killeen as a Mrs. America contestant, due in large part to all of her dedicated community service. When she wasn't working at numerous local businesses, including a newly opened Skylark Field, she was volunteering as an officer at her sorority or in organizations such as the VFW and the American Legion. It wasn't just the youth that she poured into. It was our entire community. She spent 40 years working as a Bell County election judge. She assisted multiple local businesses get established and get off the ground. And not only did she literally help design a lot of South Killeen, particularly in what is currently considered the donut hole, she helped shape where Killeen is today. One of the organizations she was very proud to have served with and be an officer for is the Killeen Area Historical Association, or CAHA. The work that CAHA has done over the years laid the foundation for where we are today as an official Main Street city. Finally, as a lifelong member of First United Methodist Church, she taught Sunday school to the youth, and she was out helping to serve and build up our homeless with their Feed the Need outreach program. She was still seen helping to provide food, hygiene, and clothes to those in need up until her body literally would not allow her to do it anymore. Her friends will tell you that it never mattered how much money you had or if you had nothing at all. She didn't have a lot of money to give. Instead, she always gave love and put her heart into everything she did for our community. Sue Hallmark, or Mama Sue, as she was lovingly referred to by so many people in our community, passed away this May and has left a void in our village. To quote her own words, Sue knew what she did in her lifetime. Those who knew her did too. Those who didn't know her don't care. She wrote her own obituary, and she wrote that into it, folks. The only part she got wrong is exactly why she embodies the Star Award, what the Star Award signifies. We all care about those people in our community who are making Killeen a better place without seeking the spotlight or recognition for it, even when seeking the spotlight for it, even when we don't know who they are or what they're doing. It's not that people don't care. It's that we don't always know who to appreciate when you're out there doing the quiet work. It is for this and for so many other reasons, I am honored to present the Star Awards to Mrs. Sue Hallmark and thank her daughter, Rocky Hallmark, for being here to accept it posthumously tonight.
Any pretty? Oh, with this.
Anyway, thank you, Melissa. I appreciate it. And to quote Mom, she would say, "Oh, goody." And we appreciate. Hey, Mom, was that you? Here, let me say, do a better job. Do a better job of this. Anyway, she loved Melissa and she appreciated you a lot. And I'm not used to those things. I don't do it. Anyway, and like all of y'all. Anyway, I love you and I thank you very much. And I'm out of here. And I thank y'all for coming. I appreciate it.
That's good. Thank you. Can we give them another round of applause? This month, the city of Killeen would like to recognize, this is a special month, and that is the Disability Pride Month. And I would like to give this proclamation for the Disability Pride Month. The city of Killeen, whereas the month of July recognizes Disability Pride Month and commemorates the anniversary of the signing of the Americans with Disability Act, ADA. On July 26, 1990, a landmark civil rights law that affirmed the rights of people with disabilities and prohibit discrimination, and whereas people with disability represents a valued and essential part of the city of Killeen's diverse community, bringing unique experiences, perspectives, talents, and contributions that strengthens our neighborhoods, workforce, and civic life, and whereas an estimated 1 in 4 adults and 1 in 6 children are identified as having a disability, making accessibility, inclusion, and equal opportunity important priorities for communities across our nation and here in Killeen. And whereas Disability Pride Month provides an opportunity to recognize the achievements and contributions of individuals with disability, celebrate the diversity within the disability community, challenge barriers and misconceptions, and promotes a community where every person is respected, included, and valued. And whereas the city of Killeen is committed to building a community where all residents have the opportunity to participate fully and equally through continued effort to promote accessibility, inclusion, and equitability, access to service, programs, facilities, and opportunities. Now, therefore, I, Joseph Solomon, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of Killeen, do hereby proclaim the month of July 2026 as Disability Pride Month. Signed, Joseph Solomon, Mayor. They're all going to come up. Come up, please. Take your time. This is a special moment. As they come up, can we give them another hand clap? we wanted to give them time to leave. Okay. We are now a work session. We're going to discuss items 3 through 12 for the July 2026 regular session. No final action will be taken until regular session. Madam Secretary.
Amen 26020. Consider minutes of regular city council meeting, June 2nd, 2006.
Good afternoon, Ms. McNair.
Good afternoon.
RS 26107, consider memorandum resolution adopting the City of Killeen American with Disabilities Act ADA transition plan.
Okay.
So this presentation would pretty much mirror very much verbatim what we had on the 7th. My clicker's not working. Oh, here we go. Okay. The ADA prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities and mandates equal access to public service facilities and public right-of-ways. Title II of the ADA requires cities to establish and manage an ADA transition plan. The city of Killeen has been engaged in some way or another with developing this plan since 2021. This plan reflects Killeen's dedication to equity, safety, and inclusion for all residents and visitors and will be adapted and updated as community needs, priorities, funding opportunities, and accessibility standards evolve over time. That is okay. That's why I bring my paper. The transition plan draft was started in 2025 with STV Inc. We do have a draft transition plan that we have put out to the public for public comment, and we have done a survey. The transition plan is driven by community, city council, and staff input. Compliance is enforced by multiple federal agencies, and it is a living document which will be updated as needed and is available on the city's website. Cross-departmental efforts to maximize resources, those are our purposes and goals to ensure safe and comfortable access to public buildings and public right-of-ways, enhance mobility and safety, also to use public engagement to help inform decision-making and foster an inclusive culture in Killeen and align with state and federal standards. The plan's contents include rules and regulations, public involvement and outreach, self-evaluation and findings, implementation plans, and also assessment and barrier removal. Community engagement, there were various ways that we went out and engaged the community: press release, social media, billboards, flyers, email campaigns, and such. We also had 2 public meetings that were held in May, one at the Lions Club Senior Center and one at City Hall, which was a hybrid meeting, was available online and in person, and we had a total of 35 to 40 people. Again, the range is because we had people in and out of the Senior Center. And we also had a focus group meeting on June 26th, and that was comprised of people who had come to those meetings and were interested in having a further discussion. So our plan implementation for facilities includes 51 facilities, 31 parks and trails, updating the city's website. There were 31,000 deficiencies identified, and we have developed a prioritization table. Next slide. Thank you. So there are 3 phases and 4 priorities. The priorities are ranked on the sites that are visited most often by our public, and then it goes down. So if it's like a lift station, the lift station will be last on the list to get anything done to it. We'd rather put the money into City Hall or one of the senior centers that we have. The public right-of-way, there were over 30,000 touch points there as well. Street assessments were conducted in 2024 and mirrored issues found prior. Public right-of-way items are being corrected as the city completes its maintenance and streets plan, including upgrades. So our estimated cost for facilities as of this year is $6.42 million, and that will be over 20 years. And for public right-of-way, the estimated cost at the time this was created was not available, but it's about $267 million today over 30 years. Staff recommends that the City Council adopt the City of Killeen ADA Transition Plan and really put a bow on top of that proclamation that the mayor just gave. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Council, any discussion, questions? Councilmember Brown.
I only have one question from something that came up Friday when I was visiting one of our local subdivisions. As we're going through, and I know we have the parkland dedication, it requires a lot of our subdivisions to build their own park or playground. Are we ensuring that those are ADA accessible? And if they're not, so the one that I was at is not ADA accessible, to even get up onto the playground area or to get up to the pavilion that they have, how are we going to be able to address that since those are HOA owned?
So, Mr. Murphy, as far as parks, he'll be able to answer questions on that. But the plan is to make sure the parks are accessible. The question had to do with the development.
Yes.
Of new parks and making sure that they're accessible.
One of the undertakings as we strive to build and develop new parks is in the planning and development phase. All elements through concept design have an inclusive component. We're working diligently with Ms. Brady and the ADA Compliance Coordinator to ensure that our ideas are inclusive, as well as when we get designs and early schematics, that they're taking the steps to be built forward for our total community, not just for the neighborhood at hand.
Is there any way for somebody who lives in one of these HOAs that has an inaccessible park to bring that to our attention to help them at least advocate for it?
As it stands right now, we're going through our master plan and we're doing an update and revitalization of certain parks. When we do those revitalization efforts, we are incorporating, adding ADA features and making them compliant to engage everyone in our communities.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. McNeil. Okay. Madam Secretary.
RS 26108, consider a memorandum resolution approving a lease termination agreement with Killeen Sister Cities OSIN for leased premises at Killeen Civic and Conference Center Complex.
All right. So the Korean Pagoda was constructed through Sister Cities OSIN and a Texas nonprofit corporation. It's located on the Killeen Civic and Conference Center complex. The agreement between the city and the sister cities is nearing completion on September 17th of 2027. Sister Cities has requested early termination of the agreement and transfer of responsibility to the city. Sister Cities has proposed providing approximately $20,000 to the city of Killeen. Additionally, the existing Connex storage container located on the complex will remain to support removal of the pagoda and proposed enhancements to the Korean War Memorial area. The condition of the pagoda is not great, and it has deteriorated to the point that it will be more expensive to replace it than to try to keep it. It has roof leaks, wasp and pest control issues. It is actually taped off because it's not even safe to step inside. A limited public use, and that means if you wanted to take a picture there, you would need to stand outside of it to take that picture, not inside. And no future bookings. Reconstruction and future maintenance costs will exceed, again, the available funding. The proposed use of funds includes improvements like cherry blossom or ornamental flowering trees, Sister Cities recognition plaque, additional landscaping and flower beds, and a replacement of the memorial benches. This is just a mock-up of the picture on the left is what it currently looks like. The picture on the right has the enhancements, including the bench, the plaque, and some decorative lighting. Staff recommends that the City Council authorize the city manager or his designee to approve the termination of the existing Sister Cities agreement, accept the funds provided by Sister Cities, and utilize the funds for enhancement to the Korean War Memorial area through beautification and improvements within the Civic Conference Center complex. And we also have representatives from the sister cities here to answer any questions that you may have about this.
Council, is there any questions? Councilmember Nash King?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Tiffany. I served with the Sister Cities, Osan, when we put that pavilion out there, and it really saddens me that it has to leave, that they're considering that. And I'm all for it because the maintenance on that, we knew it would be a challenge. And now here we are today with that challenge that we knew would be in the future. But I just want to say thank you, Roxanne, Lisa, Miss Jan, that's here. Lisa Humphrey was our president at the time, and everything she put into it, and the relationship that we have with Korea. I am very grateful and thankful for the opportunity to serve on that committee. And thank you all for donating to the city of Killeen. Thank you, both. I should say Councilwoman Roxanne Flores. Sorry about that, Mayor.
Councilmember Brown?
I think that the rendering is absolutely gorgeous. My concern is using the cherry blossom trees that are not native to anywhere in this part of the country or not native to our country at all. I know that in most of our design requirements, we have to have native plants. And then, do you know how the cherry blossom trees are, like how much water intensive they are?
No, I don't.
I'm not a botanist or
No,
tree expert, so I don't know either. I'm not an arborist.
No, I don't know.
I was just wondering because I think maybe if we go with something that requires a little less watering,
Yeah.
that is more natural, we can still make it look very nice and have some shade trees there, even with a bench. Might be a nice alternative. But
Yeah.
other than that one concern, I really like the idea.
Okay, and we haven't finalized any landscaping plans. The draft and the renderings that we have are just very rough, and there will be more details to come, but that was just something of what we could do, and I do like the idea of native trees. But
so
no,
then-
I kill every plant I have except a succulent because they don't need water.
Right.
So,
So then tonight we're just approving letting them out of the lease, and essentially that would include a motion of direction to move forward with how do we built
Yes.
into that as long as this is approved as part of the consent and not broken apart, then that would not only approve letting them out of the lease, but also staff starting the process of a design to bring back?
because of how it is set up, we wouldn't bring the design back. It's $20,000, that's our budget. We would just take care of that and.
Yeah, and that's the
yeah.
only reason I wanted to get that input out
Yeah.
tonight.
So it would be actually to allow them to exit the agreement, so terminate the agreement, accept the $20,000, and then allow us to move forward with beautification.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any more questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary.
RS 26109, consider a memorandum resolution authorizing City of Killeen officials to submit grant application for the fiscal year 2027 non-urban outdoor grant program through the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, TPWD, and to accept any subsequently awarded grant.
Good afternoon, Mr. Murphy.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the distinguished council of the City of Killeen. I'm here to seek your blessings to pursue grant funding opportunity from the Texas Park and Wildlife Department. A little bit of background. Texas Park and Wildlife Department local parks grant program assists with local governments with the acquisition, indoor development of recreation areas and facilities throughout the state of Texas. The program provides a 50% matching grant on a reimbursement basis to eligible participants. The city is eligible for the non-urban outdoor grant program due to the population size. Application, just an overview of the grant. Application deadline is August 3rd, 2026. The anticipated award is in January 2027. The grant ceiling is $750,000 with a required match from the city of $750,000. Total grant requested, including the city match, is $1.5 million. The city has CO bond funding as a match of $1.862 million, and the total project funding would be up to $2.612 million. The The project that we're proposing to pursue or submit for this grant is our Goodnight Ranch Community Park. It's located at 4001 Corinne Drive in Southwest Killeen, approximately 38.5 acres of dedicated parkland. The project supports park and trail development in a growing residential area. On May 6, 2025, the City Council allocated $1.862 million for the development of this parcel, which is a drainage tract located behind Pruitt Ranch Drive. Proposed use of the funds. The grant will request support professional service design and floodplain and environmental coordination as needed, eligible park development costs such as trail development, playground improvements, shade structures, picnic facilities, site furniture, lighting, trees, landscaping, signage, and etc. Project scope based on city design services and RFQ for Goodnight Ranch Community Park. The master plan recommendations TR-17. The project is consistent with Killeen's Parks and Open Space Master Plan, including recommendation from TR-17 for the Southwest Greenway and neighborhood trail connectivity. TR-17 identify funding and development a Southwest Greenway extension for General Cavazos Regional Trail, development of an ADA accessible Greenway trail, and maximize neighborhood extensions by exploring opportunities to extend a neighborhood connector trail to Corinne Drive and Charles Goodnight Avenue. In addition, it also extends trail connectors to the portions of Goodnight Ranch neighborhood on the west side of the creek, develop appropriate trailheads at neighborhood connections entrance, explore opportunities to create a neighborhood park within the Goodnight Ranch neighborhood. Since portions of this property is in the floodplain, it will need to be developed with passive recreation activities such as a trailhead, a playscape, and some picnic facilities, etc. Portions of the parking which are out of the floodplain and could be developed with more intensive amenities. Add a lot of trees, benches, trails, trailhead, solar lighting, picnic facilities, and explore opportunities for stream restoration. Here's a kind of a map of the space that we're having questioned in the Goodnight community. Again, this is just another map of it. The staff recommendation that the City Council authorize the City Manager or the Executive Director of Finance to submit, modify, or cancel as necessary a grant application under the FY 2027 Non-Urban Outdoor Grant Program for Goodnight Ranch Community Park. And I will answer any questions. In addition to me, I also have my park planner here, Ms. Crystal Kazakis, who will be able to answer any questions.
Councilmember Kendricks.
Mr. Murphy, this here is exciting to see for several different reasons. I've lived in the Goodnight Ranch area since 2009, and my kids have grown up without a park in that area, and this is what a lot of the constituents talk about, and I tell them it's coming. And to see that we are moving forward with this is great progress toward, I see many other things, not to mention all of the things that I would like to see in District 4, but this is great. This is great, so I can really relay this to the constituents of that area. And you had, I think, there was a little packet that was being passed out.
There is currently out a survey circulating amongst the neighborhood and the neighbors to start to gather input of what they would like to see in their park. We just finalized a review for requests for qualifications from some engineering firms, and we're now trying to transition to where we get to the design phase, so we wanted to take the input of the community going forward as to how this park would come to life.
And that is exactly what the constituents are talking about. There's one thing to walk up and down Bunny Trail. It's a long road, but just to have some nature trails and other things to do, and probably ride mountain bikes and things of that nature. They are excited for that, and I would like to just thank everybody who have put their hands in this. But I cannot take total credit for this. With this, there was a council member that sat here before me that had his hands in all of this. So, former council member Boyd, I tip my hat to him because he got a lot of this started, and it is. I have to keep it rolling, and we talk about it, and then the next person that comes along, they keep it rolling until we get it finished. Thank you.
Councilmember Brown.
Mr. Murphy, I just have one concern. First of all, I think I've made it clear that I don't believe we need to put as much money into new parks right now, when we have ones that we're having difficulty maintaining within the budget. But this was already approved by a prior council, so I'm going to support it and try to do what we can to make it the best possible for that community. And with that, something that some citizens have pointed out to me is areas where we're using solar lights, they die over sometime in the middle of the night. So at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, where people are getting up to start walking before it gets hot, or in the winter when they're out there earlier, the parks are now dark where we have those solar lighting. What can we do to make sure that that isn't happening on these walking trails?
Yes, ma'am. We're looking at it as the technology continues to improve with being able to sell storage for solar lighting. We're upgrading as we do the lighting structures to new, more proactive cell batteries that last longer. This iteration would see lights that would pretty much last through the night. There are some additional features that come that have a shut off. You can kind of program them that will actually power down at, say, 10 or 11 and then power back up with stored energy. So there are alternatives that we're looking at.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Councilmember Nash King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Good afternoon, Mr. Murphy. I just want to bring the council up to update why Goodnight Ranch Community Park was considered by the past council. In District 4, as you know, they do not have really parks over there at all. District 2, 3, 1 have a park, and as a council, we decided that we are here with taxpayers' dollars to represent all residents and to ensure that they have the highest quality of life. Although there are parks, I see them that need improvement, but it's important also for the District 4 and the residents that live there, which is a big district, that they also be afforded a park, and they didn't have that opportunity. So I commend the past council, especially Councilmember Boyd, Mr. Cagle, thank you, and your Ms. Tanglin, everyone, and Mr. Murphy for finding the funds. This grant is much needed, and I hope the council would support this. So we would represent not just a few, but all the residents in Killeen to ensure that they have the highest quality of life, and the park is the least we can do for them. Thank you.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes, I just want to, how you doing there, Ms. Murphy? I just want to thank you all for everything that you all are already doing with the parks. I have been to some of the parks, and they look good, even the remodeling of the parks and making the parks ADA accessible, including the walkways and things that you guys have placed there at the parks. I love all of that. You guys are doing a great job, and I welcome the new one. I think that what we're doing for our youth or for our children, anything that's good for them, that I think would be beneficial for them, I will support that. So I thank you so much for everything that you're doing, and I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing what else that the Park and Recreation has, especially with the parks.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Murphy, thank you. You guys are doing a very good job. I had a chance to tour with you all about parks, and you mentioned this one to me, and so thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Madam Secretary.
RS 26110, consider a memorandum resolution authorizing the procurement of an electric belt loader from Charlotte America in the amount of $110,305 and an electric aircraft tug from Tronair in the amount of $168,646.80 for the Killeen Regional Airport for a total amount of $278,951.80.
Good afternoon, sir. Mr. Barbosa.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, and City Manager. Before you is the Aviation Department is requesting authorization to purchase one replacement electric aircraft tug and one electric aircraft luggage belt loader for the Killeen Regional Airport. These units will replace aging equipment that has exceeded its useful service life and can no longer provide reliable operational support. On March 12, 2024, the City of Killeen entered into a grant agreement with the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality under the Texas Volkswagen Environmental Mitigation Program. The agreement requires the city to replace eligible equipment with electric units and comply with program requirements, including operating the new equipment in Texas for at least 5 years and maintaining usage and operating records. The city must also provide proof that the replaced equipment has been permanently destroyed and is not resold, transferred, or returned to service. Under the grant, TCEQ will reimburse the city up to $90,000 for each eligible equipment replacement, and replacing the existing equipment with fully electrical units will improve operational efficiency, reduce maintenance costs, and ensure compliance with the requirements of the TCEQ grant agreement. And the following equipment is scheduled for replacement. As you can see, they are quite old. The aircraft luggage belt loader is 1992, and the aircraft tug was in 2012. And several vendors were solicited, and only the responsible quotes received were from Charlotte American Fiat Group and Tron Air Inc. as follows. Electric belt loader Charlotte, $110,305, and the electric aircraft tug from Tron Air, $168,646.80, with a total purchase cost of $278,951.80. Once the TCEQ grant reimbursement is received, the actual cost of the aviation fund will be $98,951.80, and this will be at no cost to taxpayers. This purchase conforms to the city policies and law. Purchases made to preserve or protect the public health or safety of the municipality residents are exempt per Texas Local Government Code 352.022. And the recommendations for the City Council to approve the procurement of the two electric aviation vehicles in the amount of $278,951.80, and authorize the interim city manager or designee to execute any related documents, change orders within the limits established by state and local law.
Council, any questions? Sir, thank you. You got another one? Yes. Madam Secretary?
RS 26111, consider a memorandum resolution awarding bid number 26-28 to the Trevino Group, Inc. for the Terminal Rehabilitation Improvements Phase 1 at Killeen Regional Airport in the amount of $3,068,784.
All right, the background. The Killeen Regional Airport has identified critical terminal infrastructure that has reached the end of its useful life. This is a 3-phase project that will improve passenger safety and comfort by upgrading key systems, including elevators and escalators, the public address and fire control systems, restrooms, and curbside sidewalks, while also reducing maintenance costs. The city received FAA grant to fund design-related services for the project, including administration, design, bidding, and engineering. The project design is complete. Phase 1 of the project includes replacement of the PCAs on units on the gates 1 and 6, install new hose reels and carts for the PCA systems, replace 2 terminal elevators, and refurbish 2 terminal escalators. These upgrades are intended to enhance system reliability and improve their overall passenger experience within the terminal. Phase 1 will be funded through the combination of the FAA Airport Infrastructure Grant and the Airport Improvement Program grant, covering 95% of the eligible project costs, with the remaining 5% funded through the FAA-approved Passenger Facility Charge Program, application dated 14 March 2025. No impact to the Aviation Department's operational fund or fund balance. Advertising began on April 26, 2026. It was in the local newspaper, the city website, multiple statewide electric bidding sites. We held a pre-bid meeting on May 5th and was attended by 2 general contractors and 6 subcontractors. Bids were opened on June 11th, and one bid was received by the Trevino Group with a bid amount of $3,068,784. Although only one bid was received, the project was competitively advertised and made available through multiple procurement channels to encourage participation. Airport staff and the city consultant Garver conducted a comprehensive review of the bid and determined that the Trevino Group bid is responsible, and represents a fair and reasonable cost for the work to be performed. Based on the evaluation, airport staff and the Garver recommended awarding the construction contract to the Trevino Group in the amount of $3,068,784. Funding sources: the grant will cover $2.915 million, 95% fairly funded. The match is $153,439. That's from the PFC fund. There is no impact to the aviation operating fund or fund balance, and again, no cost to taxpayers. We recommend the City Council award the construction contract to the Trevino Group in the amount of $3,068,784 for the terminal rehabilitation improvements project Phase 1, and authorize the interim city manager or designee to execute all contract documents and any and all change orders or actions within the amount set by state and local law.
Okay. You have the next one as well.
Yes, sir.
Madam Secretary, could you read that, please?
RS 26112, consider a memorandum resolution approving work order number 4 with Garver LLC for the construction phase of the Terminal Rehabilitation Improvements Phase 1 project at Killeen Regional Airport in the amount of $544,000.
The Killeen Regional Airport has identified critical terminal infrastructure that has reached the useful end of its life. This is a 3-phase project that we recently discussed that will improve the passenger safety and comfort by upgrading key systems, including elevators, escalators, and the public address and fire control systems, restrooms, and curbside sidewalks, while also reducing maintenance costs. The city received the FAA grant to fund design-related services for the project, including administration, design, bidding, and engineering. The project design is complete and the bids have been received. Acceptance of recommended bid is being considered under a separate agenda item, which we just discussed. Phase 1 include the replacement of the PC air carts at gates 1 and 6, install new hose reels and carts, replace 2 terminal elevators, and refurbish 2 escalators. These upgrades are intended to enhance the reliability and improve their overall passenger experience for our customers. Phase 1 will be funded through the FAA AIG grant improvement program and the AIP, which will cover 95% of the eligible project costs. The remaining 5% will be provided through the Passenger Facility Charge Program dated 14 March 2025. In accordance with the FAA and state requirements for federally funded airport project construction administration, inspection services, and documentations are required to ensure compliance, maintain quality control, and support successful project completion. Garver LLC is the airport's engineer of record and was selected in accordance with state and FAA requirements. Staff negotiated work order number 4 with Garver in the amount of $544,000 under the master agreement for professional services executed on 15 December 2025. Under this work order, Garver will serve as the owner's representative, providing construction administration, part-time on-site inspection, and project closeout services for the terminal rehabilitation project Phase 1. Funding sources: the grant covers $516,800, which 95% is federally funded. The match is $27,200, which will come out of the PFC fund, and there's no impact to the aviation operating fund or fund balance, and again, no cost to taxpayers. And our recommendation, City Council approve work order number 4 with Garver LLC in the amount of $544,000 for the Terminal Rehabilitation Improvements Phase 1 project at the Killeen Regional Airport, and authorize the interim city manager or designate to execute all contract documents and change orders with the amounts set by state and local law. Standing by for any questions.
Councilmember Kimball.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Great work with you guys. You know, we've talked about this. It was a long time coming. You got a 3-phase project. When is taking all 3 phases in consideration, when is Phase 1 going to start? How long is it going to take? And what kind of impact should travelers see as they go through the airport?
Well, the phases will start sometime next year for Phase 1. Phase 2 and 3 will depend upon as we receive the grants. The impact would be minimum to consumers. So say, for instance, the elevators, we won't do both elevators at the same time in case there's a customer who has to get to the second floor to get to the passenger areas. So the impact will be minimum, sir.
Quick follow-up. So as we attempt to recruit other airlines to come into, to use the Killeen Regional Airport, would this have an impact on them wanting to use the airport now that we have upgraded facilities?
This assists us in marketing the airport, showing that we have the latest and greatest amenities for their customers as well.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the council? Sir, thank you. Y'all doing a tremendous job over there. It's always moving forward with that airport. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, and we appreciate the council's support.
Thank you, sir. Madam Secretary.
RS 26113, consider memorandum resolution adopting the 2027-2028 state legislative priorities and principles.
All right, well, good evening, council. As you remember, we previously had a discussion about council legislative priorities back at a meeting in June. Staff went through those priorities, and this is what is being presented to you this evening, hopefully for adoption. So part of those priorities is for the city of Killeen to seek full reimbursement and reinvestment from the state of Texas for lost revenue due to state-granted veterans exemptions. You'll see changes on the slides highlighted in red. The word reinvestment was added. Also, the council would still like us to oppose any extension of state-granted veterans exemptions that is not fully funded by the state of Texas. They also want us to advocate to have a bullet train station stop. Also included is to advocate for increased financial assistance for first responders, emergency management, and technology innovation, to advocate for increased funding for aquifer storage, advocate for clear legislation preventing initiative ordinances that would violate state or federal law from being placed on the ballot. And as you'll see, there's some in red, and so these were the new ones added in June. The City of Killeen will advocate for legislation designating Killeen as a military-impacted municipality and seek state funding for roadway expansion and modernization to address congestion from rapid growth, with key priorities being Highway 195 and the 190 corridor improvements, intersection upgrades, and multimodal transportation planning and pedestrian safety enhancements. Additionally, as our guiding principles, the City of Killeen would support legislation that would provide benefit to military communities, provide local relief for impacts of state-granted exemptions and programs, provide transportation funding for local projects, provide funding for local park, trail, or public grounds projects, or be beneficial to Texas A&M University, Central Texas College, and/or Killeen Independent School District. The City of Killeen would also support legislation that would support statewide planning and regulatory standards for data centers that prioritize water and power sustainability, that align with positions and priorities of the Central Texas Water Alliance, and that advocate for dedicated state and grant funding to expand senior programming, recreation activities, and wellness services to include support for senior centers, transportation access, social engagement programs, and health-focused programming to improve the quality of life and reduce isolation. Additionally, we advocate for funding providing for youth programming, advocate providing funding for downtown or Main Street areas in the arts community, and advocate to support programs encouraging innovation and advanced technology skills for soldiers. Additionally, the City of Killeen would oppose legislation that would remove or limit local control or preempt local authority, be detrimental to current or potential city revenue, impose partially or fully unfunded mandates, erode zoning authority, or be detrimental to local economic development efforts. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, or if council would like to discuss any changes that they may have as well, we can do that now.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilson. Councilmember Bass.
Thank you, Mayor. Council members Williams, Brown, and myself met with Representatives Hickland and Buckley last week in two separate meetings. We were not representing the council. We were there representing ourselves. I am happy to report that I believe Representative Hicklin has a good plan for the 2027 legislative session regarding the veteran tax exemption. I will wait for Representative Hicklin to discuss her bill when it's ready for public discussion. Representative Buckley said he supports the plan. I can say for sure that Representative Hicklin and Representative Buckley worked very hard last ledge session to increase our funding reimbursement for this program, and I personally appreciate their hard work on our behalf. It's no secret that the hang-up on this is the Texas Senate. So the Texas Senate is where we have to focus our efforts. I look forward to traveling to Austin in 2027 to testify in support of Representative Hicklin's plan. Thank you.
Councilmember Brown.
There we go. During said meetings, one of the things that I had brought up, and I believe I had agreement from Councilman Bass and Councilwoman Williams, was getting state support for galvanized water line replacements. It's been a big issue. We've been putting those notices out to residents for the past 2 years now. I believe at last count we have just a little over 1,300 residents, primarily on the north side of Killeen in our lower income neighborhoods, that still have galvanized water lines. The issue there is that they could contain residue that has heavy metal contaminants in them. The EPA is going to require them all to be replaced by 2037 anyway. So rather than waiting until 2037 to address what could be a health issue, it was my request as an individual to try to get assistance for those homeowners, not just in Killeen, but statewide. And so I'd like to ask the rest of the council to put that as, I think maybe not necessarily a priority just for the city, but as one of our guiding principles that we support is statewide assistance for galvanized water line replacement. So I would make that as a motion of direction to add into these so that we can just approve that with the rest of them at the end.
Okay, there's been a motion of direction. Is there a second? Councilmember Williams, second. Any discussion on this? Councilmember Kimball? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I would like to thank Councilwoman Brown for taking on this project, something she and I talked about before. Whether it is in our guiding principles where it's support, to seek legislation, but those galvanized water pipes are an issue that's going to have to be dealt with. It's going to be a ton of money, and whether you're a renter, whether you're a landlord, there's got to be notices. One of the things that we found out when we're looking to this subject is that if you're a renter, you may not even know that you have galvanized. You might not, your pipes have that. So, and if you speak another language, you may not know that you have that. The owner of the property could live, in Florida. So I just think that we just have to have a commitment from the council to deal with this issue before it becomes a head. So I'm in support of whether it's in the guiding principles or whether it's, or the guiding principles or one of my priorities.
Councilmember Nash King?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mrs. Wilson, good afternoon. What is the city doing currently to address that?
Let me call up our Executive Director of Public Works and see if she can talk a little bit about that. Here she goes.
And I do apologize. Council, would you repeat the question as I was walking back and forth? I missed a little bit of it.
The question was, what is the city doing to address it?
So as far as our galvanized pipes, we do issue annual letters. They typically come out in November, December timeframe. We are also seeking grant funding. Right now, there is not a dedicated source for residents because this is on the private side, not the city side, is where we found the galvanized pipes. And there are approximately 1,300 that we have scattered across the city, primarily focused on the north side of town. And we are also working with the American Public Works Association because they are also seeking funding at the federal level in DC for some relief for communities in this similar situation.
So it's on the resident side of the house?
Correct.
And we're trying to find funding to support them with rectifying the problem?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just needed some clarity. I know we talked about it prior to you coming on board. And I just like to have everybody have the whole picture, that the city has not neglected this, that they are working to help residents financially if we can get funding for it to fix the problem. That's important to know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Kendricks.
Get this thing to work. Okay, and you kind of answered part of my question, which Councilmember Nash asked. Also, with this, if a landlord, they own the property and like we just said, it's on their side of everything, would they be responsible for any of this?
So I can't speak to specific instances, and when we send out our notices, we are required to also send it to the physical address, not just the landowner. And so both parties are getting getting notices of this. And it is, when it comes down in the federal law, it is the landowner's responsibility for the private side. And so that's between them and whoever is their renter.
And that was my understanding. And make no mistake about it. I hear you saying get the federal funding, but is there anything right now that's mandated that the city does it?
There is not, because that is on the private side. We went through and we verified all of the city side in order to identify if there was any place that had to be removed, if we had anything, and all of those, to my knowledge and what I went through in the records, have been taken care of, and we did not find any left on the city side.
Thank you.
Councilmember Bass.
This is for the city manager and the council and the mayor. So, if we, the city council, approve of these legislative priorities, what do we do with this list?
Sure, I can answer that. Whatever's passed tonight, we'll obviously give to the Sleater Group, and they will see your prioritization, what's most important. Obviously, everything in there is important, but it is ranked with some more important than the others, and they go to work on it.
Do they meet with us?
Yes, sir. If you want to, obviously they will, individually or as a group, and if you want to tell them there's some of these things you want to submit legislation on, the sooner the better, because now's when the legislation's being written. January starts to be a little late. So if this issue, you want to propose some sort of legislation rather than just go out and find if anybody else is doing this and support the legislation, or find other legislators to support it, you'd need to give that direction.
And what would be the format for the city council to meet with the Schluter Group? Would that be a special council meeting, executive session?
I don't think you could do an executive session, but it could be a special workshop. You could do it here. You could do it in a briefing room. It does have to be posted. I mean, it's an open public meeting.
We have a contract with the Schluter Group, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How many years?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Anybody know? Is it 4 years?
Oh, it's a lot longer than that.
5 years?
No, are you asking how long we've had a contract with them?
Our current contract, how long does it run?
I believe it's 4.
Which year are we in?
Sorry, I don't have that in front of me.
How much does it cost a year?
$100,000.
$100,000 a year.
Yes, sir.
All right, this is what I want to say publicly. I oppose taxpayer-funded lobbying. I am not impressed by our lobbyists so far in my tenure as a city council member. But we have a legislative session coming up. The bills have to be submitted right now to make it official. There's a complex procedure for bills to get vetted in Austin. I recommend to the mayor and the city council that we meet with the Schluter Group sooner rather than later, and we go over each one of these items, and the Schluter Group explain to us, number one, the exact language of what a bill would look like, each one of these, and their strategy for getting a bill through the legislative session that addresses every single one of these priorities. That is their job, and I want them to do it. Thank you.
Okay, council member, okay, nobody. Okay, so there's a motion of direction on the floor, and it's been seconded, so, for clarity, city attorney, please, repeat that motion of direction.
The motion I have is to include as a guiding principle state support for replacing galvanized lines.
Okay. Okay, now all in favor? Oh, I'm sorry.
Can we hear it again?
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
If I heard the Councilman Bass's motion, it wasn't just for the galvanized lines, it was for each of the priorities listed. Was that correct?
No, I did not make a motion. I'm just making a suggestion for us to think about. But I think we need to move on it pretty quick.
But it wasn't just galvanized lines, it was
The
about.
motion on the floor was Councilmember Brown's motion
Oh, okay.
that I restated.
Okay, so all in favor of that motion signify by saying yes, all opposed, no. The motion carries 7-0. Okay, we can continue, Mrs. Wilson?
Is there other discussion? Is there any changes or additions?
Council. Mayor Pro Tem? Okay, Councilmember Nash King. I think everybody clicked at the same time, didn't come on.
Mrs. Wilson, on the prioritizing the items on there, it wasn't a motion of direction from Councilmember Bass to put it on the agenda. I'm assuming Mr. Cagle, Mrs. Wilson, just like any other time, you call them on the phone and say, hey, we're going to put this item on the agenda. There's no motion or direction for that?
Not yet.
Do we need one to schedule a meeting, or do we just do like we always do, is we just put it on the agenda and he comes speak? Am I missing something?
Yes, ma'am, I think you are. This is not, I think, wasn't a motion of direction, it was a statement that we need to meet with them soon to give specific direction.
Right, I heard this before from an elected official at the state level, so that's what I'm trying to get clarity. Is there a motion of direction needed for this, or we just gonna meet with them one-on-one? That's all I'm trying to clarify, because we've been down this road for the last 2 years. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. And so I do agree with Ms. Councilmember Nash King as far as if we're going to set something up. But to our council, we don't have to wait to speak to our lobbying firm. You know, legislation as part of our responsibility and legislative oversight as it relates to giving the directive on behalf of our taxpayers, which is their voice, is also our responsibility. So as I would like to then just make sure that I'm on the record 100% saying that I'm in support of whomever, but at this time, we have what we have, and we need to make sure that it's our responsibility to work that legislative priority to create these initiatives and then to follow through on them on behalf of our citizens. That's our responsibility, and we don't have to wait for permission to do so. But our citizens, this lobbying is their voice. This is how we are able to communicate to our state and federal representatives on behalf of our community. Thank you.
Councilmember Bass.
So I want to make it clear, I'm not interested in the Schluters standing up here like they did last time. I'm interested in a special council meeting to discuss these priorities and hear their strategy for the 2027 legislative session to accomplish every single one of these, 100%. Do I need to make a motion of direction for that?
I think that'd be helpful.
I make a motion of direction that the city council have a special council meeting with the Schluter Group to discuss our legislative priorities and hear the Schluter Group's strategy to turn these recommendations into bills on the floor of the 2027 legislature. Thank you.
Okay, it was motion by Councilmember Bass. Councilmember Brown,
Second, and a question.
open for discussion.
I know that the councilman had notated the desire to have this as soon as, well, quickly. But what would quickly mean, and is there a target date for this so that staff can reach out to see if there's a date range when the Schluters are available to come in?
Based on my experience at the legislature, it needs to be in the next 30 days because the lobbyists then should leave the meeting and then go meet with specific legislators to ask them to sponsor these bills that contain our priorities. If we just throw this out into the ether and say, well, you talk to them when you get a chance, nothing's going to happen. These priorities need to be turned into bills sponsored by specific legislators. Thank you.
Yeah, so that, all I needed was the clarification on a timeline. So to the city manager, with that in mind, knowing that the thought process behind it is within the next 30 days, you need us to include that in the motion?
I heard it.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Kendricks.
I'm hearing everything that Councilmember Bass is asking. And it's probably more of a less of a question and really trying to understand it. So what happens if you want everything to hit the floor and, everything to move forward, what do we do if it doesn't hit the floor and it's a bill?
The way it works in Texas, we wait 2 more years.
So that is kind of goes back to what I asked before of the responsibility who it falls upon. So how do we start working on those landlords and everybody being prepared in case this doesn't hit the floor and pass as a bill? I think using Mayor Pro Temp's words, we need to have guardrails in place and be prepared for that.
I agree.
Okay, Councilmember Nash King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to just reiterate. The process is that when the Schluter Group come, the council give them their priorities. They meet with, like 3 of you already met with representatives from the state, and I'm not even sure if you took this priority list with you to show them the priorities, because he can go or she can go to any individual, and I'm not even taking a side. I just want the resident to see it's bigger than just saying what we're saying up here. Even if they go to a representative, that representative have to vote in our favor. So if we're meeting with our representatives, then our priority should have been right in front of us to go over each one over them with them and go in detail with them why this is important. And we can tell Mr. Sluter, which I don't have a problem with him coming here and breaking down how he's going to do everything, I don't. But it still goes back, we also have a responsibility to the people not to rely on the state to do it, not to rely on just the Sluter Group to do it, but we should be advocates too. Right now, trying to learn every representative or someone up there that have influence other than our area that can push our things through. Because some of this, we have so much on this list. There are no top 3 or top 5 priorities. So we're going to have a person go in there and throw everything out. What is the priority? Is it one thing that we can all agree to is significant? To me, it would be the veteran exemption. If we don't have our tax base together, all these great plans and things that we have already spoken about and things that we will continue to speak about today, they cannot be funded. So we have great ideas, but the reality of, whether we have someone that's going to be a lobbyist or not, if that person is removed, then who's going to be the voice if we're not doing it right now?
Us.
Point of order. I did not interrupt you, Mr. Bass. I know you fired up.
Councilman Nash, can you still have the floor?
Thank you. I know you fired up, and I'm not speaking for Representative Hicklin. I'm not speaking for Representative Buckley, who is a friend of mine. He is. I'm speaking for the people I represent. No one else higher than me. We put them in that position, they have a responsibility, but we also have a responsibility to the individuals that voted us in this position. I'm not in the business of playing the blame game. I'm in the business of all of us trying to work together. The contract with the Sluter Group is already in place. We work with our representative, we work with Sluter Group, we work with our staff and council. We're not against each other. We just got to find a way to make all this work together for the good of the people. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. No disrespect, Mr. Bass. Much love for you.
Councilmember Kimball.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think Councilwoman Nash King makes some excellent points, and I echo just about everything she said. There were some great points. My question is to to the city manager. So we have the Sluter Group who represents us on a contractual basis. And when it comes to what they do on a daily basis, the conversations you have with them, the priorities they have with them, I mean, they're doing what we asked for them to do contractually. I mean, is there any reason why we need to change what we're doing? If we need them to come to a meeting with them, I mean, they're responsive. They're in Austin on a daily basis, or when the legislature is in session, and I'm assuming they're doing that even when the legislature isn't in session, they're doing their job. So is there anything outside of that you have any concerns of that should be brought to our attention? Because based on what I've seen, we have a contractual obligation with them, and the priorities that they have, that we've given them, they have done their best, but we know that there's a process to it, and unless things happen in Austin that doesn't go their way, we can't get everything done. Just because we want something done doesn't mean that it's going to get done. So unless you have any additional information to say that we should have any concerns, I would love to hear it.
No, I think it just depends on what you want. If you want them, if the council's direction is to submit legislation on every one of these priorities, you better meet with them and talk that out.
And just to follow up, I mean, we for some of us, we weren't here with this previous council, so most of these things the priorities were here when we sat here. We added on to them in the month of May. So I just think that as passionate as we feel about things, we just have to slow down and then remember the one area that we as council members representing the citizens is oversight. There's nothing that prevents me, as other council members did this week, whether they did it on official business or personally, like Councilman Bass said he met, whether you want to do it officially, as a council member, I can call up the representatives and do what I want to do and advocate for these, as I did as a citizen, and I can surely do it now as a council member. So that's all I have to say, unless you have anything outside of that I need to say. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Bass?
I'm not over my time, am I? I can't remember how many times I've spoken.
This is your last time.
I'm okay? Okay.
Your last time.
So, this is a rhetorical question. The previous legislative session, I assume the city council gave the Schluter Group a list of proposed legislative priorities. Again, rhetorical question. How many of those were turned into bills? Of those legislative priorities, how many of those bills were heard by a committee? Of the bills that were heard by a committee, how many of them were voted out of the committee and made it to either the House floor or the Senate floor? This is how we measure the effectiveness of a lobby group. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Kimball.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I've clearly heard what Councilman Bass said, but I would think, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but there are tens of thousands of bills that go before the Texas legislature, and almost none of them get a governor's signature. So before we blast the previous council or say that Schluter Group wasn't doing what they're supposed to do, there's a process, and there's 254 counties. I don't know how many cities there is, how many city councils, government boards, county commissioners. There's a ton of bills that go up. So before we be careful and start putting metrics on things, that the majority of bills that go before the Texas legislature does not even, they're not even heard. They don't even get to committee, sir. So just want to make that for those that are wondering how the process works. Thank you.
Yes, and to your point, Councilmember Kimball, we need to make sure that we have a voice, even though we can speak out, but we do have somebody that will speak for us in all of those bills that come up to the state representatives. And so I think that my opinion is that we got to have a voice up there. We've got to have somebody at the same time. To Mayor Pro Tem's point, is that we have to do our job, and we have the ability to make to voice our opinion. And Councilmember Kendricks.
Just to add to what Councilmember Kimball just alluded to, there was 8,719 bills that was filed in this last session. Governor Abbott signed about 1,155 bills into law. So your point on what you're saying, a lot of bills go up and some never make it into, the House or the Senate. So, I mean, we cannot say they're not doing their job, because we're not the only city that's not getting bills passed. So I don't know how we can totally measure that, but looking at these numbers everything is a hard sell. And so I'm like you, trying to figure it out. How do what we want become priority over anybody else? We're no special than any other city. So that's all I have, just.
Mayor Pro Tem.
And I won't belabor this point. I won't belabor this any further, but to answer Councilmember Kendrick's statement, it is our responsibility to advocate for our community, but it's also our community's responsibility to advocate for ourselves. And so when the city of Killeen has a need, the city of Killeen needs to rise up, just as we do on Facebook and all these other social media avenues. When there's something that we know that we need as a community, It is going to take that same energy to get the state to pay attention to us. And again, with us being in top 15, top 20, I've said this 1,001 times, we are a force to be reckoned with in this community. We have a lot of good things to offer. We have a lot that we can put on this table. We also have the voting power here in the city that would cause them to pay attention to us and know that our needs need to be heard. So the onus is on us. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Nash King.
Yes, sir, this is my last thing. I just want to point out, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Cagle, Mrs. Wilson, correct me, even legal may be able to help me. I think there was a bill to do away with lobbyists this past legislative session. Am I correct?
For the past several sessions, I believe.
Correct. I don't want to be doing somebody else's job. Put it in a bill. At the highest level, get rid of them. But what happens on our level? And that's what I don't like about politics. I don't like getting all wrapped up in what's going on in the state and the federal as a council member. But as an individual, Debbie Nash King, then that's my voice to say what I like or not. But if I represent the people, we have to represent the people, and we cannot be pushing other people's agenda, but only the residents of Killeen agenda. Now, I'm not saying having a lobbyist right or wrong or indifference. That's not my fight. I think we're in the weeds fighting over something that's trivial when we should be more focused on the list that is before us. That's our agenda item. We done got so far off the agenda giving an opinion when we should say focus on, is this our priorities? Is this what we want to go for? Mr. Cagle already stated it may be 2 or 3 years before we can remove or go with a contract, a lobbyist or not. So I'm just asking the council, if this is our legislative priorities and principles, is this how we want to go forward? And let's all of us fight for this. But can we just vote so we can move on to the next item? It's not going to change the person we already have or not. That person is there for a couple more years. Thank you.
Councilmember, City Attorney, could you give that motion of direction again by Melissa Brown?
I believe this one was Councilmember Bass's motion to set a special council meeting to discuss legislative priorities and hear Standard Saluda Group's strategy to turn them into bills for the upcoming legislative session.
And that motion was made by?
Councilmember Bass.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Bass. Okay, and we got a second. So if there's no more discussion, all in favor, signify. Yeah, it was second. It was second by Melissa. Yes. All in favor, signify by yes. Not in favor, no. That motion carries 4-2. 5-2. 5-2. Motion carries 5-2. Mrs. Wilson, Council, is there anything else that we want to relay to Mrs. Wilson? That's it.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Madam Secretary.
RS 26104, consider a memorandum resolution readopting the governing standards and expectations with amendments.
City Attorney.
Good afternoon, Mayor and
Good
City
afternoon,
Council. This is your governing standards item. You've seen this background slide a couple times in recent meetings, but to add on June 16th and then July 7th, 2026, City Council directed that certain changes be brought back to City Council to vote on. So that's what we're looking at tonight. The changes that have been directed are for regular meeting times to start at 5 p.m., for staff not to present consent agenda items, to add invocation and pledge to special City Council meetings, to remove the requirement to submit participation form prior to the meeting start, to add a separate section for citizen comments on non-agenda items to regular meeting agendas. Oh, I must have had it on the wrong slide. I apologize. looks like that this is not an updated agenda. The next ones where council members are limited to 2 opportunities to speak on any agenda item for 2 minutes each during work sessions and regular special meetings, with no additional time being granted. And then adding a provision to allow the public to participate remotely, and that we have that beginning August 4th at the regular meeting, because we need some time. We wouldn't be able to get that in place for the special meetings that are scheduled between now and then. And then designating a contact for council member requests for information, and a requirement that responses be sent to all council members when appropriate. And then council members shall not attend staff meetings between city manager or executive directors and staff members. And to update the date for which facilities may not be used for council member-sponsored meetings from January 1st through Election Day to July 1st to odd-numbered years through Election Day. And then that city council, we've added a section 2-90 that city council will establish a procedure for council investigations. So we would need additional guidance in the future to flesh out what the investigation procedures you want to see are. But we have added a section in there. Council will establish that procedure. And then finally, to update the date for council appointments to committees and subcommittees to every December. And then to add the Board of Adjustment to a list of boards with appointment subcommittees, establish quarterly meetings between City Council and Planning and Zoning Commission, and to update the date for annual review of the governing standards from to December, January timeframe rather than June and July. So those are all the directions that we've that Council has given the last two meetings, and you can vote to approve those changes today with the amendments as directed already, or with different or selected amendments.
Okay, I see you, Councilmember Bass. Was one of them on there, you mentioned about splitting, we mentioned about, we wanted to see it, the meeting split.
That did not, that motion did not pass.
Okay.
So that's not on the list of changes. And you do have in your packets the actually red lines to the governing standards that show the sections,
Yes.
if we need to look at those as well.
Councilmember Bass. Thank you, ma'am.
Well, looking at the presentation, I'm confused about what we're voting on. Are we going to vote on each one of these one at a time?
No, these are compiled. Council has directed these changes individually until now, and now this is put together with the red lines to the governing standards that you have in the packet. And so you would be voting on these changes as they're redlined, unless you have changes to those. Or things you want to add or remove to those already directed changes.
So the council approved a 5 p.m. start time.
The council approved a motion of direction to include in your governing standards tonight for final approval.
So are we going to vote on that separately, or?
No. I mean, if you wanted to vote on all of these separately, again, we could. What we've done is we've got motions of direction on all of these, and there was a majority of council that approved each motion of direction that got a majority of council to approve those. That's what we've included in this so far. So you're voting up or down all of the changes, or with changes to those changes if you'd like. But we've already voted on them individually.
And the council approved remote access to city council meeting?
The council approved a motion of direction to include it in the changes for you to vote on tonight.
Okay, because my understanding about these red lines is so that we could see what it looks like in the governing standards. And then once we see what it looks like in the governing standards, make a decision one at a time with a motion and a vote as to whether we're going to leave it like that. That was my understanding.
If the council would like to do that, it could go one by one. That has not been the procedure followed in the past. what we've done in the past is gotten a motion direction on each one to include it in the red lines, and then brought it to you to vote up or down on. But again, if council does not want to do that and wants to go line one by one, we can do that.
Because last city council meeting, I said the same thing. I am in favor of a 5 p.m. start time. I am strongly opposed to remote access. So I don't want to vote against the whole thing just because I oppose remote access.
Sure.
Thank you.
Councilmember Nash King.
Thank you. To follow up on Mr. Bass, and I also have a question, Mr. Mayor. What is needed for us to vote on individual items? That's what he's basically asking. What is there needed for us to do that? A consensus from the council, a motion of direction?
I mean, you could just do motions, you could just separate out your motions if you'd like. So motion to approve regular meeting start at 5 PM and then go to, and I can, if you want to do that, I can just read them down the line and we can take motions like that.
Yes, ma'am, I agree with Mr. Bass on that one. I would like to see us do each item individual. But I also want to present this to council for consideration. The council decided a while ago that there would be certain events that we would be city-sponsored. Veterans Day, Memorial Day, MLK Day, just certain things that we agree. And what I want to make clear in our governing standards and expectation that that event must happen on that day. Even if that day passed by with veterans, if we miss Veterans Day, if the weather is bad or whatever the case might be, we don't have it. Memorial Day, it doesn't happen several times. And let me tell you why I found this out. It was an event that happened, and they didn't have it on that date for whatever reason. And I heard several sides of that story. If we have two organizations supposedly having an event on the same day, they should have it. Because if they separate and one go on this day, the other one on the same event, we have to pay overtime if it's on the weekend. If it's not on that date that we already, the council, we're taking care of, we're paying for that. And if that two people that have an event on that same day decided, I don't want to do it with you, then if they go on a separate day, we still have to pay for that because this council already voted on that particular date that we will host these organizations. And I would like to put in our governing standards an expectation for all organizations. The veterans do it for VA, Veterans Day. The veterans do it for Memorial Day. They follow our policy, but it is not clear because budget constraints taken away from our staff time twice to secure both of these events, especially our police and fire department, and on the weekend. I just think that if the date we already as a council done voted on, Memorial Day, Veterans Day, MLK Day, Juneteenth, Celebrate Killeen, whatever it might be, we should have it on that date. And if it's two organizations having the event on that same day, they must do it on that date and not have our staff digging into our overtime pay to pay them twice for an event that should have happened on that day. So my motion yes, ma'am, you need clarity?
Well, I will wait for your motion, but I guess I'm just, that we're looking at section 2-80, assistance to community organizations. Is that for special events?
Yes, ma'am, special events.
So when we have, so it sounds like you're talking about limiting support to a certain day, but like for instance, the first thing on here is the Christmas parade. Well, that's not on Christmas.
It's not so much on Christmas the 25th, but whatever date they decide to have that event, and they work with staff to come up with a date, time, and location, then that's the date and time, location they should have it. The Christmas parade, we already know it's coming, so they come, work with staff, they coordinate with the police department, fire department, anyone else they need. Once that coordination have done for that day, unless it's something really bad, it's a city event for Christmas. We're going to do that anyway. I'm talking about stuff like Veterans Day. It happens on Veterans Day. And maybe I can break it down to that, if that's okay with you.
So you want to limit it to one day for each of the events?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm still looking. If it don't work, it don't work.
I'm just trying to, I'm trying to work it out in
my
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 head.
bottom line is this. This is the best way I can explain it. I don't want our staff using overtime for an event that two organizations could have had it on one day.
Your time's up, ma'am. You can.
Oh,
Question.
I was just answering her question.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Continue.
Yes, thank you. So that's what I'm trying to say. And if I can word that, or staff or council just agree, hey, if we're having Veterans Day on this day, and we already done went out there and set up everything, and the organization's out there, and the group decide we're not gonna show up, then if you don't do it on that day, you shouldn't be doing it on another day when everybody else is out there and we're hosting the event. And it may not even be a motion or direction. I just want council and staff to take under consideration, to make it simple. We should not continue to pay overtime for an event that we already scheduled a date, and one organization show up and do that event, and the other organization take it upon themselves to have another date, which caused the city staff have to pay twice, 2 days overtime for an event that could have happened on one day. That's all I want to talk about. Thank you. So there is no.
Councilmember Brown.
I just want to bring us back to the agenda item that we have and the discussion that started with, which was, are we going to vote on it as one big package, or are we going to vote on each item individually again? I think that it's wasteful to the time of the council, the staff, and the citizens to go through them one item at a time. We did that throughout the whole process of building it, and I understand there are things in there that each of the council members don't necessarily support or agree with. There were very few items in there that we recommended changes to that were unanimous. But it was still a majority vote of the council for each one of those things, and we're going to sit here for another 2-3 hours at a minimum going over it again if we go through it one at a time, and then we have to discuss each item back and forth like we've been doing on these. There are things in there that I'm not happy with. I still think we should go back to weekly meetings. We have a new city manager coming in, and while we have the luxury right now that Mr. Cagle has been here for 6 years and he knows a lot of this information, we can ask him a question sitting right here and have him give us an answer and expect him to know that because of his experience with the city. When we put a new city manager there, we're doing a disservice to them by having the meeting and the workshop in one night, because that city manager doesn't know the information to go back and decide and be able to give us that information right away. They would have deserved that week to go back and look into it and talk to their staff before we ask a new person to give us their opinion. But I am willing to sit here and say that even the things that I disagree with, I think it's ridiculous to limit council members to 2 minutes of speaking 2 times each on an item. Clearly, we have council members up here tonight who've been unable to do that. But I'm willing to take those things that I disagree with, because that was something that the majority of the council already came to an agreement on, and say, I'll take what I can, I'll be happy with the wins that I have in this, and then we review it again in December anyway. If everything passes as proposed, and Ms. Clements, if you could just verify, then we would review this again in December, correct?
That's correct. The changes move your review from July to December to January, and I believe that was discussed at your last meeting, and that there was no change to that it would begin again this December, 5 months from now.
So my recommendation would be to keep this on the consent agenda, just vote for it, use a 4 or 5 month trial run for everything that we've just proposed, and we can revisit it when December comes around. Thank you.
City Attorney? Yes,
And
ma'am.
I would add, just as I'm thinking through this, I mean, you can vote on each of these individually again. Ultimately, I would request, I mean, we need, for the governing standards, you adopt them by resolution. And so the resolution approves the changes to the governing standards. So this is one resolution item. And so ultimately, I mean, if we go through one by one in the work session here, and then we would move forward those recommendations that council did in the motion's direction and still vote on the one resolution and re-upping the governing standards would be my recommendation.
But City Attorney, it would not take that long to go one by one, would it?
It all depends on how much discussion is on each of those, definitely. I can go through them pretty quick.
Yeah. I mean, if, I'm just asking the question because there are some council members that would like to, and there are some are not. And, and we can could we take a consensus?
There's no motion on the floor, but you could make a
There's
motion
no
how to
motion.
proceed.
So, okay.
Would you like me to go through each one, Mayor?
Well, Councilmember Kendricks, and then Councilmember Nash King.
I think what everybody is saying, yes, we can do it in one big package, but I think there may be 3 items on here that are concerned with most of the council. And if we can't do it, could we pull just those 3 to talk about those 3 individual things and then approve the rest of them as a whole? Could we do that?
Certainly. So another thing that could be appropriate when, if you pulled this from consent in your regular session to vote on, you could move to approve the changes except for changes to sections 150, whatever sections you didn't want to approve, you could make your motion to approve the changes except for the ones you didn't want to approve. And then if you got a second on that motion, then that motion would be voted up or down.
That's all I had. That was my question.
Councilmember Nash King.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion of direction for the items on the agenda to be voted on, each individual item.
Is there a second to vote on each item?
No, not like that, no. Sir, I may correct myself. The items that an individual want to be pulled to vote on that individual item.
Okay. So it was.
That's my motion of direction.
Is there a second on the motion of direction?
I'll second that motion.
A second by Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
All in favor?
Mr. Mayor, I wanted the city attorney to ask her one question. If there's an item, not all of them, but there's 2 items that I see, like I agree with Mr. Bass on remotely, and that person just pulled that item, and we'll vote on that separate. We put it up front, all the items that Councilman Kendricks just said it. All the items we want to vote on, the 3 or 4, it may be 4, I don't know what else, I don't even know if they read. But the items they do want to discuss, we'll vote for everything else, but these 4 items, this is what I'm saying. I want whoever want to pull that item, we'll vote on that individual. But we will state it prior to voting.
So what I'm hearing is that you want to vote on individual items that to be pulled. So if this motion passes, then I'm assuming that you'll say, I move to pull or to not include this particular addition or change. And so then there would be a vote on that particular item. And then if
Yes,
somebody else
ma'am.
had something they wanted to remove, there could be a motion on that. And then what would move forward to your regular session would be everything that wasn't pulled by these individual motions. Is
You
that?
stated that, and also Councilman Kendrick. Yes, ma'am. It meets, because Mr. Bass, in all fairness, ma'am, he have been saying in the meetings that I agree with some, but I don't agree with with an item. I agree with this, but I don't agree with that. So in all fairness to him, I just think it's best that if the items that he don't want to vote on, he should have them separate. It's just fair because he have repeated that over and over. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council.
Councilmember Bass.
One thing I have learned in my 70 years of life is don't be afraid to change your mind. When you hear a really good argument, I think Councilmember Brown made an excellent argument. I especially thank her for pointing out that we can discuss these items again in December. So I have looked at all of these red lines. I'm very clear about what they are. And based on what Councilmember Brown said, I am perfectly willing to ride this horse until December and see how the ride is, rather than sit here for 3 hours discussing remote access or 5 p.m. I'm willing to vote on this all at once. I think there's some really good changes in here. And thank you for that argument, Councilmember Brown. Thanks.
Councilmember Kimball.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We started this meeting with a little bit of spirited discussion on the consent agenda over timeliness and efficiency. And we sat here for weeks and weeks, at some meetings till 11 p.m. And now here we're going to re-vote on the items that we already voted on? Don't make sense, sir. We all sat here and we discussed each of these items feverishly. Some we agreed with, some we didn't agree with, but in a democratic process, we voted up and down. Now we're going to re-vote on them again? Don't make sense to me. I'm speaking against it. Ms. Brown made an excellent point. We agreed on these. We voted on them. Let's take them as a package, vote them all up and down.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes, I agree with Councilman Kimball.
Okay, Councilmember Bass.
And I'd also like to thank Councilmember Debbie Nash King. That's a good argument too. This is one of those things that, tough decision one way or the other, but I'm willing to try this out for a few months. And then in December, things that maybe not be working so well, we can discuss them again. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. I just have a quick question. There's a couple of requirements of us to create a process. At what point in time do we do that, and how does that work as far as getting that set?
The one that I have in mind when you say that is for council to establish a procedure for council
Yes.
investigations.
Sure, yes.
There could be a motion of direction to bring that back to discuss, to give guidance on what you
So we
want
do need to do that.
in that process, in that procedure to include. We just didn't have that to draft anything to put it in there right now, so. So there could be a motion of direction to bring that back to discuss further what council, how they want to, what they want included in the council investigation procedure.
So I would like to make a motion of direction then.
There's a motion on the floor.
That's right. Thank you.
Council, we're in discussion. Councilmember Nash King.
Mr. Mayor, just listening to council member, I want to withdraw my motion of direction. And just listening to them, the consent is already there, and Mayor Pro Tem has another motion of direction. So I withdraw mine. If Councilwoman Williams will withdraw her second.
Okay. The motion has been withdrawn.
Yes, I withdraw my second.
Thank you, Councilmember Williams. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. I would like to make a motion of direction for council to coordinate a meeting for looking at agenda item to create a process for inquiries, investigations, and oversight. We just bring it back in a few days for discussion of the process as requested in governing standards.
Okay, is there a second on that motion of direction? Councilmember Brown?
I will second that, although if I could ask for clarification
for within a couple of days. Can we say maybe to be by no later than the beginning of October so we can get through our budget first?
Councilmember, I'm sorry, you asking the question to,
To
okay.
Clarify the
Ms.
motion.
Gonzalez, to clarify what a couple days is.
Yeah,
Mayor
so
Pro Tem?
we're saying, if you're recommending November as a time frame to get through the budget, I would be amenable to that. So we can add
October.
that verbiage for December timeframe. December, would that work, sir? December?
No later than December.
No later than December.
And then, and that'll coincide with your review
Review
of the
anyways,
governing
of the
standards
governing
again.
standards.
So we
Good
can
job.
get that before December, so you'll have that conversation before the governing standards
Okay,
come up.
thank
So
you.
then I'm good with the motion. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Bass?
Councilmember Nash King, correct me if I say this wrong, but what I believe I heard Councilmember Nash King say at a previous council meeting, with her many years of experience sitting up here, this council is not set up to do investigations. That is a bad road for us to go down, in my opinion, especially based on the last few weeks, our experience the last few weeks. I believe that what the council is set up to do, if there is an issue that we're concerned about, is to discuss that in executive session. That is what we're set up to do. I do not believe there is any way for us to set up any rational system for a 7-member council to do any kind of investigation that doesn't turn into a big mess. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
So understanding that, guys, but what we just talked about, which is in our governing standards as well, which is going in there, is that we have to create a process. Now, part of that process could be changing the term from investigation to oversight, right? That could be part of that conversation. But our requirement from our constituents and a requirement for what we're about to vote on says that we have to create a process. We need to set a date and time to do that. That's it. So we can work on even changing the title. I agree with you in that respect. But that can be part of that conversation. Thank you.
Councilmember Nash King?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I am not for it. Last week was a disaster, and we still have the aftermath. Innocent people got hurt for no apparent reason. We still don't know the truth. This is just not right. I mean, I understand, and it goes back to what I said before. First, we need to learn our job now. What we do, learn it. But we want to do an investigation on what? Based on our own opinion? Based on what we think is what is true, what he say, she say, she say, has embarrassed our city manager. Our city is considered a joke. And we want to continue to go down this road because we don't have anything better to do with our time. No, we should get rid of this word investigation, oversight of the budget, oversight on what's going on. We only have one person that runs city employees and staff, and that's Mr. Cagle. But we want to cross people up and do their job, and we need to be focused on our job. So I know everybody want to do an investigation, want to do oversight. If we're going to do this, I think the process should just go, and in December, forget about investigation. That's me. We should just go on and let this play out the way it is now. Mr. Cagle has a job and a responsibility. We have HR. They already have a process that's put in place. And if this process that we already have in place does not work, then come December time, we can reconsider this word investigation, overview, oversight, look into, whatever adjective you want to add to that. But we are not in the business, and every day if someone is on KDH page or it's on social media, and it's just going on how bad that was, and only one person is connected to that, and that's our city manager. And I have yet to have one person say, I apologize. But we always saying you do it in public, but then when it comes to an apology, we don't know how to do it. But it wasn't you, it wasn't your family. So I think investigations is not for us to do. That's just my point. And it's not even toward a council member. It's just the whole process as a whole. Thank you.
Councilmember Brown.
The charter is sacred. The charter says that the council is responsible from time to time for doing investigations. Part of the problem that we had is we don't have a procedure. It was hodgepodge thrown together. Again, we just all agreed that we're going to accept these recommendations to the amendments to our governing standards as one lump sum package as part of our consent agenda. It's in there as a change. I don't know why we're talking about whether we agree with investigations or not, because the motion on the floor is simply to set a future discussion for that. So we could have just saved about 20 minutes by not discussing it now and voting on the motion that's on the floor, which is my request at this time. Thank you.
And if I could clarify, was there I got the motion,
Yes, you may.
Mayor Pro Tem, and the second was Councilor Brown? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other discussion, City Attorney, would you again repeat that motion direction for clarity?
The motion I have is to bring back at a future meeting to discuss creation of a process for investigating, for council investigations no later than December.
All in favor, signify by yes. All opposed, no. Okay, the motion carries 4-3. Okay. City Manager?
All right, thank you. If there are no other additional additions or changes wanting to discuss, then we'll move forward with the directed changes, and that's what you'll be voting on as part of your consent agenda unless it's pulled.
Do we need to make a motion?
No, that's just what will happen unless you want to do it differently. Let me know.
Okay, let's, I want to take a 10-minute break. Call the meeting back to order. Madam Secretary.
RS 26114, consider a memorandum resolution approving a memorandum of understanding with Texas A&M University, Central Texas Police Department to provide mutual aid for police services and information sharing.
Good afternoon, Mr. Downing. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you, Mayor?
Great, sir.
Good. Good to see you guys tonight. Tonight, we're just going to talk about a general MOU that we're going to have with Texas A&M University over at the college. We have quite a few of these. It's just a standard one we have to assist when needed. The City of Killeen seeks authorization to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Texas A&M, the college police over there. The agreement formalizes jurisdictional coordination, mutual aid procedures, major incident response, communication, jail procedures, records responsibility, liability provisions, and an annual review requirements between the Killeen Police Department and Texas A&M. TAMU has primary jurisdiction over the police services, obviously on the campus. KPD remains primary jurisdiction for any that exceeds the capacity of the department. We have this a lot with a lot of the other agencies. If they're unable to handle a big event, they have major events there, we have to help out. They just don't have the expertise for it. Each agency will notify the other incidents that may affect officer safety and things of that nature, and obviously we'll talk back and forth if there's anything about maps and current issues there. If they request KPD assistance for any major crime scenes, special response events, suspected explosive devices, hostage situations, or active shooter incidents, KPD may retain primary jurisdiction or primary incident authority until the TAMU or the incident is terminated by coordinating with them. Each agency is responsible for the paying and providing the benefits, so if they call us, even though we go and help, we pay for our own and vice versa. Each agency remains responsible for costs associated with its own equipment, including damage, loss, destruction, or replacement, and each agency must maintain liability insurance in the minimum amount specified by the MOU. No direct physical impact to the city is identified beyond the existing operational resources unless future assistance requires deployment of city personnel or equipment under the terms of the agreement. recommendation is that we would recommend the approval for the memorandum of understanding between us and TAMU for the next 5 years, beginning FY '26 through FY '31, and authorize the city manager or his designee to execute said agreement. And if you have any questions.
Councilmember Brown?
Chief Donahue, I just want to confirm, this is very standard for an MOU between police departments, correct?
That's very common. We could almost change any city around in Bell County and change the name, and it'd be almost exactly the same.
And then we have several of these MOUs with surrounding municipalities already, right?
Yes, all of them, and we're working on one with Fort Hood. Fort Hood's a little different because it's a federal jurisdiction, but basically the same thing.
And then as far as schools go, we already have one with
We already do.
KISD.
Yes, we already do with Temple, KISD. KISD is probably the one we probably helped the most, to be fair. Temple, when they had the big tornadoes a couple years ago, we actually went out there and handled their calls and helped them a lot of stuff. We've helped them, they've helped us. It's very common practice, but it's not very often. It's only major events.
And this is a net benefit to the city and the police department, correct?
A net benefit, to be fair, most of the time it's us helping others. There's not too often we actually require assistance just because we are much larger in the area and we have a lot more resources at our disposal. It's not very often that we need assistance, although it does happen, but it's not as often.
Well, in regard to, it gives us a little bit more access to be able, if we needed to serve a warrant. Like, that is part of, as long as we notify them, that gives us really express authority in this MOU to serve a warrant.
I wouldn't say
notifying them.
warrant. For the most part, the MOU is really like a tornado or a shooting event. If it's a warrant, we already have coordination. We can actually handle most warrants on our own.
Okay.
Because we're Texas police officers, I could actually go to another city if I had to. We try not to. We coordinate, but we don't necessarily need the MOU for that.
So I'm just going to tell you where I find it to be a net benefit anyway.
Okay.
So they are within the city limits of Killeen. The authority for the city of Killeen Police Department to be able to go in and offer assistance in situations where their police department might be overwhelmed helps to keep those students and those staff members safer, which helps keep Killeen a safer place,
Yes, ma'am.
my opinion. But thank you.
No, I see your point. Excellent.
Thank you.
Point.
Councilmember Kimball?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief Donahue, when it comes to the calls for service that come from TAMU, have they increased over the years? I imagine they're pretty minimal for what
They're
we
very
do for
minimum. I couldn't even tell you about one, to be honest.
Okay.
It's extremely low.
Okay.
Extremely.
And they're still piggybacking on the same comp plan that we had from before. Nothing's changed on that.
No,
as far
there's
as
nothing changed. Their footprint there has changed. Obviously the campus is growing a little bit, but they've also, in fact, they just moved into a new police department, so they're actually being able to handle more on their own. So it would, for us to go, it would be a major event like an active shooter.
Thank you, sir.
Unfortunately, we haven't had any.
Right.
Any other questions from the council? Chief, thank you so much, sir.
problem. Thank you.
Really appreciate you in the department. Okay. This brings us to citizen comments. Citizens will have 3 minutes to speak, with 1 minute allotted for city council to respond with a statement or explanation without engaging in dialogue. I want to say, let the record show that Councilmember Nash King has left the meeting. City Attorney?
We have 2 people signed up. First, Anka Nyagu.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Thank you, Council and Mayor.
Good evening, brother.
Non-agenda items are a way for citizens to voice their concerns in a public meeting without being censored. Some of you keep bringing up personal attacks, that you're worried about personal attacks, and it is a valid concern, but given your positions, you will receive criticism. That's a given. It comes with the territory. There's no way around it. You will be criticized. It's a given. I just hope that this council has more regard for citizens' rights than, in the past. And when you bring up a tax, you never talk about a tax from this side of the room towards private citizens. There have been many examples, and some of them were towards me. Yeah, I'm not even going to go into that. But so the tax goes both ways. But your position in particular, criticism is to be expected, and you should not attack a private citizen. But I just hope you're going to show more respect for citizens' rights now than the past council. Every member of the public has the right to speak here, whether it's agenda item or non-agenda item. And just for the record, the city manager removed my form to speak twice. I'm the only one he did that to. So when we talk about attacks, that's a direct attack by the city manager against a private person. Nobody on that city council stood up for me. Nobody. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. City,
I apologize, Mayor. Dr. Sue
okay.
Nisi Croft.
City Attorney. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I am here tonight to applaud your recent 5-2 vote, keeping non-agenda items out of the charter, and to offer a pathway forward as you write these rules into your governing standards. By choosing the governing standards route, you gave yourself the ultimate tool, flexibility. If a rule you pass tonight doesn't work 6 months from now, which y'all talked about, you don't need a costly public election to fix it. You can adjust it right here with a simple majority vote. As you write the new rules, I must address the elephant in the room, personal attacks. The solution is not to silence the public, but to change the mechanics. I urge you to require all comments to be addressed through the chair, Mayor. A resident should absolutely be allowed to say, I am here about a problem in district whatever. But their words must be directed to the mayor, not launched as a personal tirade at the district representative. This protects district accountability while neutralizing toxic one-on-one dynamics. Please give the presiding officer clear written authority in the standards to pause the timer, issue a warning for personal attacks, and cut the microphone if the speaker refuses to stick to city businesses. And there are procedures that are already in place where you can give 1, 2, and 3 warnings. Finally, explicitly state that your chambers are a limited forum. Once that gavel drops and the meeting is adjourned, the public business is concluded. Shouting, lecturing, or harassing council members as you pack up should not be tolerated, and security should have the clear mandate to immediately clear the floor. You have protected your flexibility. Now use that flexibility to design a framework that welcomes citizen voices, honors district representation, and firmly protects the decorum of these chambers. And I say this because the last time there was so much noise in the background that I couldn't hear what was going on, and it kind of pissed me off. And like I said before, there are a lot of things that you can do for those who like to disrupt, be negative, coming and going to the citizens and the dais. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilmember Kendricks.
I want to say to the last speaker, I really appreciate everything that you said, because the last time we was in here with what you say at the end of a meeting was someone attacked someone. what was told to me is I should turn in a resignation letter and then tape a suicide note to it after I blow my head off. These are attacks, and I'm glad some citizens have heard it, and it needs to stop. And just like the citizens said, when we leave and go to our vehicles and things, the city business has concluded no one should follow us to our vehicle. Like I say, I am a single father, and I'm not trying to have my child fatherless. So, can I get one more minute?
Council? Yes.
I just think we do need to have rules in place for those people that continuously do this. Some people think it's fun and games, but it's not fun and games when you attack that way, because everybody is still a human being, and I just would like people to be treated as human beings. If you have something to say, you say it down there at that thing after we leave here. All of those negative comments and hurling those racial slurs at me, don't do it. I don't like it. But you can be a keyboard gangster, but when we're outside the dais and I see you, then you're quiet. And I mean, it just needs to stop. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any?
There are no further people signed up.
Okay. We will now move to, Councilmember Brown. Sorry, I'm just seeing it. Oh. I'm sorry?
It's just to make a motion you're about to ask for. I'll make it easy. We're good.
Thank you. Okay, we will go into regular session. Madam Secretary.
Consent agenda. MN 26020, RS 26107, RS 26108, RS 26109, RS 26110, RS 26111, RS 26112, RS 26113, RS 26104, RS 114.
Okay. I'll take that motion now for the consent items. Councilmember Brown.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Councilmember Kimball.
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes. All opposed, no. Okay, the motion passed 6-0. Okay, we'll move on. Madam Secretary. Discussion items.
DS 26063, Marijuana Enforcement Ordinance Annual Report.
Welcome again, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, we're just going to talk about the marijuana ordinance annual report that's required by the ordinance. This is for the years 2024 and 2025 and the compare and contrast between the two. This is a report of this marijuana suspects by gender between the two. You can see in the blue is going to be females, and in the red would be the males, and then unknown for whatever various reasons. As you can see, there's a slight increase from 2024 to 2025 as far as usage and the genders appropriately. In 2024, 2025, there's also, here's the marijuana arrest by gender, another slide about it. Between the two, the marijuana suspects by race and ethnicity comparison, as you can see on the right, it breaks it down and you have the various different races and the gender associated, I'm sorry, the race and ethnicity that is associated with them. The marijuana arrest by race and ethnicity, another breakdown between the two, between 2024 and 2025. There's charges comparison. Marijuana is got various degrees by weight and if it's in a school zone and not a school zone. And these are just the breakdown of the marijuana charges and arrests over the years and the comparison of the two. As you can see, predominantly it's under 2 ounces, which is the lowest penalty under Texas state law. There's also some that you can see that are over 5 pounds. And if you've ever seen marijuana, it's extremely light, so 5 pounds is a massive amount of real estate to cover that. Marijuana arrests as compared to release, as you can see here between the two, obviously the released on both of them are much higher compared to those that are arrested. But you can see also here it shows again that in 25 there's a lot more usage that's been annotated as compared to 2024. That doesn't necessarily mean more people are doing it, just more people have been caught with it. And then this is marijuana versus multiple charges. Marijuana by itself, the state law, it can be a single charge, but in most cases, as you can see here, what it's trying to show, marijuana wasn't the only charge. There was many other charges. Could be other drugs. It could be weapons. It could be assaults, other offenses included with it. As you can see, it's very predominantly, usually not by itself. And that was really quick there. Take any questions you may have over it.
Councilmember Best.
Thank you, Mayor. The reason this ordinance exists is because 69% of Killeen voters voted yes to Proposition A. Why did 69% of Killeen voters vote yes? Because 69% of Killeen voters believe that arresting Killeen residents for possessing small amounts of marijuana is unjust. The punishment does not fit the crime. Also, 69% of Killeen residents believe that our police officers should focus their efforts on serious crimes like narcotics dealing, meth, cocaine, murders, and robberies. The dire prediction of opponents of Proposition A never came true. Crime did not increase because of Proposition A, and drug use in Killeen for marijuana did not increase. Basically, it's the same people. What did change is people's lives were not ruined by an arrest for a very minor violation of state law, and our police were freed up to focus on more serious crimes. I believe this ordinance is a success because I am a very conservative person, and I want the government to stay out of people's personal choices. Thank you.
Any other comments from council? Chief, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, Councilmember.
That's my second.
Yes.
So the way we are executing this ordinance, correct me if I'm wrong, if a person is caught with less than 4 ounces of marijuana and they're not committing any other crime, that person is not arrested. Is that correct?
That is correct.
If a person is committing another crime, whatever the crime is, serious crime, minor crime, if they're committing another crime, it's very likely the officer will arrest them, and that's where those marijuana charges come from, is because the person was committing other crimes and had marijuana on them at the time. Is that correct?
In a lot of cases, yes. Obviously, there's variables to that depending on what the other crime is and if it's a felony misdemeanor. There's a lot of variables to that, but yes, in most cases, I would say that's
Well,
accurate.
that was the exact intent of the ordinance, and I appreciate KPD executing the ordinance as it is written. Thank you.
Councilmember Kimball.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This question is for the city attorney. Was there a sunset clause on this ordinance at all? Or is it in perpetuity, or? Okay, thank you.
There is no sunset clause.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kendricks.
Assistant Chief.
Yes.
My question is, during this marijuana thing, have we seen an increase in the felony charge? Because if you have a weapon with you, is amplified, am I correct? I used the wrong word.
It does amplify it, enhance it.
It
Probably,
enhances
it
it.
may not necessarily be a felony. It could be. It just depends. It also could be a federal crime. I mean, there are a lot of variables dealing with drugs and weapons. To be honest, if you have a firearm and drugs, it almost always is going to be a serious offense. A lot of these that are related, without researching each and every one, I can tell you from experience, most of these are because they probably have a weapon.
And that's what I've been following when I follow the crime, and when it talks about it in the, I believe it's the Nexus Lexus, something like that.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So I follow all of that stuff. Now, have we seen an uptick in traffic accidents due to marijuana usage?
I will say I've seen some research, not locally, but I have seen some research. I did a white paper in one of my classes about that, and that's what you do typically see. I will tell you, marijuana and DUI or driving is very difficult to do because the mechanisms in place are not like alcohol. Alcohol, we just use an intoxilizer. It's very easy, if you will. Marijuana requires blood. It becomes a lot more, going to get blood is a lot more of a big deal. So from the white papers I've seen, yes. Locally, I can't say one way or the other because it's very hard to measure and identify, to be fair. We have seen it, but I can't say if it's increased or not.
No, the only reason I say that is I was involved in a hit and run. Someone that smelled like marijuana, and my vehicle was destroyed. It was totaled. And as soon as I said, "You smell like marijuana," their friend said, "Hey, you better get in the car and leave." And so I'm more concerned about that.
It does happen.
You know, driving around and they're smoking and bang, I got hit. I was doing all the right things and got hit. So that's one of my concerns. We can say marijuana doesn't hurt anybody, but it's not true because it hurt my pockets. So it's not true. So that's all the questions I have.
Okay. Chief, thank you so much.
No problem.
Okay. Madam Secretary.
DS 26064, discuss and consider changes to proposed fiscal year 2027 operating and CIP budget.
Good evening, Ms. Sanglin.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. This item is to discuss the 2027 proposed budget. As you can see, we're here. It's just a discussion. We proposed the budget on July 7th. We have a budget summary here, and this is just an opportunity for our council to discuss or to give any motion or directions that you guys need to. We will have a discussion item every meeting until we adopt the budget. So I'm here for any questions.
Oh, that's it.
That's it.
Wait.
Yes.
Councilmember Bass.
Thank you, Mayor. This is what I want to say to the residents of District 3 regarding this budget. I will not vote to raise your property tax. In this time of elevated inflation, volatile fuel and grocery costs, and the expense of health care, it is my opinion now is not the time to raise property taxes in Killeen. In my opinion, we can find $2 million in efficiencies in our $350 million budget that will enable us to have a flat tax rate. Now, my question is this. On down the line is when we, the city council, decides to approve or disapprove the property tax rate. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
But the time is not now.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councilmember Brown.
To Councilman Bassett's point, it is important, though, if we know that there's going to be a majority to keep a no new revenue rate, then we probably need to help staff find where we want to make those cuts as quickly as possible before we get to the point where we approve the tax rate, because that will be at the same time that we approve the budget. I would like to make a few recommended changes. So I'm going to read them off first, and then I guess just look for nods or not from the council before I make a full motion on it to try to consolidate this. First is I want to start with our community partners. So FIC is not currently funded at all in the preliminary budget that was presented. I would recommend funding them at $63,908, which is, according to the documents we received, the actual operating budget for the Killeen homeless shelter that they operate. The Children's Advocacy Center of Central Texas, I would recommend funding at the $58,100, which is nominally more than what we're already giving them. And that is to facilitate the growth and the additional number of children in the city of Killeen that they will be able to assist. And then I would also like to recommend that we fund the Innovation Black Chamber of Commerce for $50,000 for FY27. We just gave them funding at FY26 to begin the Business Solution Center to assist our small businesses. I think that it would be a serious waste of money if we had done that for only one fiscal year and then we do not continue the program and we do not continue to support those businesses in that project. So I don't see anybody shaking their head no at me, so I would make a motion of direction to add those amounts to the proposed budget.
Okay, there was a motion of direction. Is there a second? Councilmember Bass.
I'm not seconding.
Okay. Councilmember Kimball? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. There is no second on the motion of direction. The motion fails. Okay, Councilmember Bass.
I agree with Councilmember Brown. We can't just say I'm opposed to the tax rate and then have no ideas about how to achieve that savings. I do have ideas, but I don't want to tie the hands of the staff and the city manager. I would prefer to just hear the city manager's input if the city council did not approve the property tax rate. I would be interested in hearing the city manager say, what would the budget look like from the city manager's perspective if we did not approve that tax rate? I don't want to tie anybody's hands here. Thank you.
Councilmember Kimball?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess to the financial team, manager, Ms. Tangela. So if we fund our community partners at the same level that they're at currently, and not fill some vacant positions, again, this is not knowing what the tax rate's going to be. So, and not filling some vacant positions, can we get to that $2 million?
We will have to run some numbers and come back to you.
Yeah, can you run some numbers for me and what positions, without putting actual positions to me, to the vacant positions, but what would, or how many positions would that look like not filling and only funding our community partners at the current rate? I would like to know what that is.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kendricks.
This is for the city manager. The proposed tax rate increase is what? What is it? I know it's not much, but what is it again?
2.01 cents.
So it'll go up 2 cents. Also with that, well, everyone is saying fund these other entities. Technically, we had a chance to do that when we did, when we talked about the, with solid waste, where we would have gained, in the year, we would have gained $440,000 off of that, and technically, we would have had a chance to fund them. Is that correct? We would have had more revenue.
So the $2 million we're talking about, that's just general fund. So you look at the screen right now, the general fund is 137 million. So the 2 million will come out of general fund, and that's where we had to look for the funding. So it's not going to be enough for any fees that we increase, that's for sure. We really need to go and start cutting the budget to find $2 million.
That's all the questions I have.
Councilmember Brown?
So respectfully, solid waste is an enterprise fund. Any fees that we gather from solid waste are restricted to being used in solid waste. We could not use those to fund any of our community partners, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. The reason why I mentioned these and answer the questions about if we fund our community partners at their current rates, currently we have nothing officially in the budget. The adopted budget originally in FY26 did not include any of these community partners. These community partners are not included in the proposed budget, well, not any of them, I apologize, but like IBCC and what is currently $0. We put that 50 from a year-end amendment. The same thing would be for families in crisis. We do not have them as part of the actual budget. Without a motion of direction then that gets approved to fund them in some shape or form, then they get no money at this point. And I will even say, like with IBCC, what we did last year with the year-end amendment, I would be okay with doing that since we gave them the 50,000 and said make this last for a year, unless they come back and they tell us they've expended that, and then the council has to consider a budget amendment. The Children's Advocacy Center, the difference between what they are requesting and what we had been funding them is only, it's about $5,600 or $6,600. It's not a huge increase. And then FIC, if we don't fund them at all, they get zero money. They're asking for $350. I'm saying that we should at least give them the operating costs and let them figure out how to pay their salaries. I just think it's important that if we're going to talk about where we're going to cut money and if we're going to be able to do this without a tax rate increase, which I think we can do by just simply taking $2 million that we haven't set aside for a new homeless shelter and releasing that money back out. I think that's a plausible way for us to find that $2 million, but I do think it's important that we get our community partners in there also. Thank you.
Councilmember Bass?
So, city manager can correct me if I'm wrong. Speaking of community partner requests, the three that fall under the category that we're referring to as must fund, and I agree with that, are the Bell County Communications Center, the Bell County Public Health, and the Tax Appraisal District of Bell County. Do I have that right?
Yes, sir. All I'd say is the public health. I mean, we could withdraw from the agency, but then we have to do the work ourselves. So you're going to pay somebody to do that. But,
Right.
but
That's
the-
why that's under must fund.
Yes, sir.
Because if we don't fund them, then we have to do it.
Yes, sir.
Still got to spend the money. Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Kimball?
Thank you again. I guess, Mr. Manager, when we look at $2 million, I mean, just to be realistic, that's only personnel. I mean, if you want to find $2 million, you have two ways. We could raise the rates, and we have to go to the citizens to do that, or it's people. I mean, and I mean, you and I have been through this before, and to get to a $2 million number, it's people, and we have unfunded positions, which our department heads will have to adjust on how to get that work done. But I can't think of any other way to get to $2 million besides personnel.
That's the majority of the budget. And really, I think if that's the direction, you need to start thinking about which services you want to cut. Then we'll figure out the personnel side.
Okay.
Because this is not done in a one-year vacuum. This impacts the next year and the next year as well. We already cut. We hadn't been maintaining our traffic signal system. We started. We cut it back out. It's not like everything is wonderful in this budget. It's severely underfunded as it is. I'm just saying you've got to start cutting services if that's where we want to go.
And the fleet is mixed with it's not all fleet isn't in general fund.
No, sir.
So you start if some fleet is an enterprise. We don't
right.
Can't do that. So even with fleet, the city's worked hard to get the fleet to a manageable position, and we know fleet goes down, maintenance goes up. So
Yes,
we're
sir.
talking about zero.
And downtime goes up.
And downtime, and then response time and things like that. So
There was a time we were borrowing fire engines from Harker Heights.
Yes.
And the average age was over 20 years on the equipment.
Exactly. I remember coming here in 2017, and half the fleet, I think Chief Donahue would tell you, probably half the fleet had 100,000 miles on the cars, and we just can't do that to our public safety officer. We can't do that. So we worked hard to get the fleet where it needs to be. So I think when we look at, again, the services that need to be cut or reduced, cut's probably not the right word, to reduce the services, then the personnel will have to come with it. So I guess as a council,
Yes, sir.
we just have to figure out which services that we want to reduce, or maybe maybe the county can help us up, as we make up a difference. But it's some very hard decisions on what services, Mr. Mayor, the council, that we should reduce. And even with the community partners, I'm just asking that we just fund them at the level that they're at now, without any increases. And I understand that some people won't get money, but inflation's up about 3.8%, I believe, almost 4%. That means that the cost of doing business, the cost of goods and gas and uniforms and pens and everything else is going up. So you guys are working magic with the budget with a 3.8% increase in inflation. So I just when we look at the budget collectively and talk to our constituents, we have to figure out what services that will have to be reduced. And I think, public safety, not speaking as a former public safety official, that'd be hard cut. But there's probably some other things that, talking with the city management, that we may have to find some cuts. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Ms. Tangling, it was mentioned about the $2 million set aside. Are there any other set asides that are there, any other funds available that maybe have not been allocated or have been pushed off that we are not, or have not mentioned at this point?
No, we have not set aside any funding. Normally, we wait for the certified roll to see if we can have some contingency, should I say. But right now, we don't have the certified roll yet to finalize the number, so we have allocated every single penny we have there.
Okay. And so it was mentioned, this probably is not a finance question necessarily. I'll just do some more research, but my concern is on the community partners funding versus not funding. When it comes to that shelter, which we know we've kind of been going round and round about, I think when they stood before us, there was a concern that if they did not receive the funding, that we might be in a situation where they have no choice but to release their clientele. They might have to release them with no place to go. And so that's something that is deeply concerning as we're looking at which direction we need to go. And so I need to get clear on some of the recommendations that were made. And then when we talk about services and reduction of services, what is the most efficient way for council to have this conversation? So as we are looking at this unfortunate possibility, and then, of course, we have to run that game over pros and cons, right, of any type of reduction. And as to Mr. Cagle's point, that's a year-over-year problem as a result of what we might have to decide on. What is the best way to get this information to you to run this as an option, to see which direction we might need to go? What is the most efficient way to get this information and communicate with you on?
I think by email. I mean, we are going to send rounded numbers probably tomorrow morning, send out the numbers for the vacant positions, and then give you guys some options. I talked to the city manager about it tomorrow, and just we can communicate by email until we meet next meeting and discuss about it again.
Thank you. And then, Mr. Cagle, it was mentioned to me that, maybe there's some areas of outsourcing that could be cost savings in some respects. Is there any truth to that, or would you have any recommendation as it related to us trying to get to that number, outsourcing?
Well,
What's your thought
and
on
remember,
that?
we're focused, this is the general fund that
For
we're
sure.
talking about. So the services, police,
No,
fire,
we can't. There's nothing.
parks, street maintenance, municipal court.
We're already.
It's,
The aquatic.
I'm not for sure what you're going to contract out there from
There's not a
those
lot.
services.
Just wanted to put it out there. I was asked that question. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Bass.
I have 3 questions. This tax rate increase, it's below the threshold requiring a voter vote. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's our belief. When we get certified roll, we'll find out for sure, but yes, sir.
So I believe that this proposed tax increase is below the threshold, so the voters are not going to decide one way or the other. This is going to be a city council decision, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. This Killeen Economic Development Corporation request for $1.5 million. Would that be from the general fund?
Well, it's split between general fund and water and sewer, but we didn't fund at that level,
No,
I don't think.
No, it's general fund.
So is it zero currently?
No, sir.
No.
No.
It's current $885,000.
Yes, sir, I believe that's it.
So, and that's split between the general fund and what fund?
Utility fund.
Utility fund, okay. But they're requesting 1.5 million, according to this slide.
Yes, sir, I'm trying to pull it up, but.
Okay, but that does answer my question, which is the Killeen Economic Development Corporation, the $885,000 is partially funded from the general fund and partially funded from another fund.
Yes, sir, and the current budgeted amount was the $885,000. The request was $1.5 million.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. My other statement is, in general, I don't like the idea of raising property taxes, taking that money from our property owners and handing it to nonprofit corporations. I'm not comfortable with that. In my opinion, and I've been on the board of nonprofit corporations, a nonprofit corporation needs to pay their way. They can have sponsorships, members pay dues, they can have fundraisers, they can get grants. There's a lot of ways for a nonprofit to fund itself. I do not like taking money from the taxpayers and handing it over to nonprofits just as a general idea. Thank you.
Okay, there's no further discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tanglin. Madam Secretary.
DS 26065, discuss appropriate zoning for 195 used auto parts, locally addressed as 12077 South Fort Hood Street.
Good evening, Ms. Messer.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
This item is a discussion regarding the appropriate zoning of the property located at 12077 South Fort Hood Street. You'll recall that on July 7th, the council approved a motion of direction for staff to bring back this discussion item. The red star on your screen indicates location of the property. This is an aerial of the property. This is a view from South Fort Hood Street. Property is designated regional commercial on the future land use map and neighborhood infill on the growth sector map. This graphic shows the current future land use map designation of the property. As you can see, it's designated regional commercial. Property is currently zoned a combination of A, agricultural, and B3, local business district. So this map represents the current zoning of the property. Section 336 subsection 7 of our zoning ordinance states that the B5 zoning district allows for impound yards, provided that no salvaging or dismantling is allowed on the premises and the site is properly screened, which means that B5 would not bring the property into conformance with the current zoning regulations. So staff is of the determination that the property's flume designation of regional commercial is consistent with B4, potentially with a conditional use permit overlay. So rezoning the property to M2 would require a future land use map amendment to change the designation from regional commercial to industrial, as well as approval by the Board of Adjustment in accordance with our Code of Ordinances. So in order to bring the current use of the property into conformance with our land use regulations, staff is recommending that the applicant submit a request to rezone the property from A, agricultural, and B3, business district, to B4 with a conditional use permit to allow for use of the property as an auto wrecking or salvage yard. We also recommend attaching a condition to the CUP stating that any expansion of the business must conform to all applicable city standards, including landscaping, parking, screening, and all weather surface requirements. And again, that's just any expansion would require those things. So in terms of next steps, staff is recommending that the property owner again submit an application to rezone the property to B4 with a conditional use permit. Second, that a public hearing by the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council would be held. So this would, of course, have to go through the public notification process. We would send out notification to property owners within 400 feet, then it would go to P&Z for a recommendation and back to council.
Thank you, Ma'am. Councilmember Brown.
Ms. Messer, what would be defined as expansion?
Typically, an expansion is any addition, any additional parking surface area. So anything that would expand larger than the current existing footprint would be considered an expansion.
So based on what I'm seeing, and I've gone out and looked over the property. Actually, I've gone out there and bought car parts before for maintenance on my own personal vehicles. Essentially, that whole 26 acres is basically being used as part of the business in one shape or form, correct?
That's my understanding, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it would just mean if they were to acquire additional property outside of the 26 acres in question, then any of that new property they acquired, one, we'd probably have to bring back and add on to the conditional use permit, because presumably it would come in as ag since that's what's around it. But two, then that new property would have to meet the expansion conditions, correct?
You know, I think to answer your question, yes. Obviously, this portion here is inventory, and then it's my understanding that this portion in the back is actually the crushing mechanism for the vehicles. And so I think the conditions for the conditional use permit could be written in any number of ways to allow or restrict whatever the council wanted to do.
I just want to make sure we are not putting a condition on it that makes it financially implausible for them to meet those conditions. So I want to make sure we're not putting a condition saying, okay, you're using 26 acres, you have to pave 26 acres. But that would be a discussion for when that permit comes back, correct? More than likely.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I'm also happy to, take direction tonight too in crafting that CUP ordinance.
Then I would just like to make a motion of direction that we start a city-initiated zoning change from the agricultural in B3 to B4 with a conditional use permit. And I say city-initiated because the last dozen legal non-conforming zoning changes that I've seen have all been city-initiated. We haven't asked those property owners to submit the application. Or do they do that even on a city-initiated?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
So on a city-initiated, is it usually stated that the property owner submits the application?
For a city-initiated item, no, ma'am. But this item does differ from a city-initiated item, and that typically those city-initiated items that come before you are residential and commercial zoning districts. That's been the primary focus of
But it's
that
all also
initiative.
stuff that was legal non-conforming that we were bringing into compliance for a myriad of reasons, whether it's financing, whether it's rebuilding, whether it's insurance, which are all the same reasons why we're going through this whole process with this owner. So then my motion of direction would be to initiate a city-initiated zoning from agricultural in B3 to B4 with a CUP.
Okay, motion and direction was made by Councilmember Brown. Is there a second?
I might second it, but I have a question.
Is there a second? I second, sir. Second by Mayor Pro Tem. Open for discussion. Councilmember Bass.
So does this motion reflect what the staff recommends?
Yes, sir, it does.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kimball.
Mayor, I just, for clarification, it's not entirely because we are initiating.
That's right.
If the
So-
property owner wants to do it, then the property owner should initiate. I don't think that we should initiate.
Staff's recommendation, my answer was with regard to the specific zoning designation.
I'm
But
good with
our
that.
recommendation is that the applicant apply. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's not the motion. The motion is that we do it.
That's right.
I am for we should not do this. If the property owner wants to initiate the zoning change, then the property owner should do it. It should not be city initiated.
Member Brown.
I just want to remind the council that the property owner didn't ask for a zoning change. The property owner asked to be disannexed. And we all said, no, we were not going to support disannexation, but we would support bringing them into compliance. We would support bringing them into compliance, not them going and turning around to apply to come into compliance. The original motion of direction, the last time this one was in front of us, was to bring a city-initiated zoning change. And the only reason that got dropped off of there was because there was question about whether I was accurate before with the CUP being the most appropriate zoning, which we see that staff is of concurrent mind that that would be the most appropriate zoning for this property. But I think because this was essentially us saying, we're not going to give you your initial request, which the applicants have to, how much is a zoning request on 26 acres with a CUP?
A conditional use permit application, I believe, is $1,000.
So the city is giving up $1,000 to do what we do for other businesses and other residences in the city every time they come in front of us is legal non-conforming anyway. I think that we can afford to do that to show good faith for the fact that we said we're not supporting what you actually wanted to do, and we're going to support you, however, still continuing to operate your business.
Councilmember Bass.
Thank you, Mayor. When the owner called me to discuss this issue, the majority of his conversation was about zoning. So I support the staff's recommendation, and I agree with Councilmember Kimball that the property owner should be the person to file for this zoning change. Thank you.
Councilmember Kendricks.
I guess I'm finna flip everybody out here in a second. After listening to everything, man, I will say Councilmember Melissa Brown is actually correct. And I will follow. It's always a first. Okay, so I think because of the way everything was going, and I actually listened to the things that was said, he actually came in for disannexation. And I understand, he talked to me too about zoning and everything, but one of the biggest things, because they brought the lawyer in, was disannexation. And we agreed, I believe Councilmember Brown made a motion of direction on that day to see about what we could do to actually bring them in compliance with the zoning and everything. So I know y'all on me now, but there we go. Hey, I'm with that.
Councilmember Brown.
I will, and I also had a lot of conversation with the owner when it came, and a lot of the discussion was zoning. But that was the reason that the disannexation was requested, was all about zoning, because the applicant wasn't zoned properly for their business. So that's why the discussion of zoning kept coming up. He couldn't get he didn't have the appropriate zoning. He wasn't able to work that out on his own through staff. And so he said, okay, if I can't get the zoning that I need, then I would like to just leave the city so that I'm in the county, and then I don't have land use regulation that I have to worry about. So I appreciate Mr. Kendrick, and I hope that this is the start of us working like this more often. Thank you.
Councilmember Kimball.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not against, I just want to be clear, I'm not against the property owner being rezoned. I think that's the right thing to do. I think I'm just concerned about the precedent. So when the next person knocks on my, get the email, phone call, hey, I want the same deal they got, and I want you guys to waive all the fees and everything. And I'm just worried about that and how how this precedent could morph into something else. I think the property should be brought into zoning. My next question is, now will this still have to go through the same process? Since we're initiating, does it still have to go through the P&Z process?
Yes, the process is the same regardless of whether it's city initiated or applicant
We're initiating it
initiated.
and waiving the fees in our tight
It'll still have to
year,
go
we're
to
waiving
Planning and
fees.
Zoning Commission with public notification, P&Z, public hearing, and then to council. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
And so I have a question just for clarity, because I understand that, we've done this before when we had properties that were legal non-conforming, correct? And so we absorb those costs typically, correct?
That's right.
Okay. And so if we're in a situation where this is an unprecedented kind of circumstance, I don't know what precedent would be set as that we take each one of these case by case by case and review them. So I think the city initiates them already. We've done this in the past. That is not an abnormal process in our toolbox. Correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kendricks.
Is it okay for me to bring the applicant up?
I don't think is the applicant here.
Yes, sir, he's here.
Ms. Messer? He's requesting to bring.
I would like to ask him a question. Good afternoon. I see we're going round and round with this about applying and who should apply and all of that. Would you be opposed to just going and applying and doing everything?
I don't know enough about how this works. I don't know if me applying or y'all initiating it makes any difference in the long run. I don't know. I don't know if there's any hidden surprises in the end or anything like that. I'm trying to just keep it simple, is all I was trying to do.
Right, and I think what the concern is with some of the other council members is setting a precedent. But if if you was just to apply, would it still be, are they paying the fees and everything, or it still would be the same?
I think the primary distinction is that if it's city-initiated, there is no application fee. If it's applicant-initiated, the applicant would pay the application fee.
Okay, I got you.
And I can answer, I've come down to the city a couple times trying to work this out, and I couldn't get anywhere. So that's why we're at where we're at right now. So I'm not trying to say I've done my part, but I think I've went way and above trying to fix this problem already. I'd just like a little help.
All right. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Bass?
So, clarification on the motion. If we vote yes, the city does the application and there's no fee. If we vote no, the property owner does the application and pays a $1,000 fee. Or is that correct?
The motion on the floor is a city-initiated item, so.
Okay, so, and that's all it's about, is whether the city pays it, or whether the city initiates it.
The motion on the floor is city-initiated to be for with the CUP. If the motion fails, then another motion could be appropriate or not.
Thank you.
Okay, if there is no discussion, Councilmember Bass? Oh, okay, you were just, okay, got you. All in favor with the motion signify by saying yes. All opposed, no. The motion carries 5-1. Thank you, ma'am. Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Messer.
Yes, sir. I've got
You
the
have another
next two
one?
items. so-
Yes, okay. Madam Secretary?
DS 26066, discuss Planning and Zoning Commission bylaws, applicable standards of conduct and ethics policy provisions, and authority of City Council regarding appointment and removal.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Council members, this is a presentation regarding the P and Z bylaws, ethics, standards of conduct, appointments, and removals. So on the screen is a list of policies that are applicable to the Planning and Zoning Commission. The first is our Code of Ordinances. Chapter 21 addresses planning and development, and Chapter 2, Article 4 also addresses boards and commissions. The Planning and Zoning Commission rules and procedures are also applicable, as is Division 6 of the Planning and Zoning Rules and Procedures and the Governing Standards, Division 6. So Chapter 21 of the Code of Ordinances addresses the composition of P and Z. It states that there shall be a Planning and Zoning Commission comprised of 9 members. There shall be residents of the city or the ETJ who shall be appointed by the council. That chapter also says that the Planning and Zoning Commission may adopt rules or procedures to govern its actions. Such rules shall be consistent with the provisions of this article and shall become effective upon being filed with the city secretary. Chapter 2 addresses the vacancies due to excessive absences and provides that the board or commission member can be removed from office for missing 3 consecutive meetings or more than 25% of the meetings in a 12-month period, unless the absence is excused by the chair. The Planning and Zoning Commission rules and procedures, which were included in your packet, are adopted by the commission. They were most recently amended on June 8th, and they contain general information about the roles and responsibilities of the commission. They do not specifically address ethics or removal of commissioners except in the case of excessive absences. And finally, the governing standards and expectations, Division 6. The ethics provisions state that,
My apologies. I forgot that Ms. Clemens was going to present this slide.
No problem. We're going to split up this presentation a little bit. So the governing standards part of this, the governing standards, Division 6, the ethics, does apply to council and boards and commissions. And so we have the policy statement here. So it's the desire of the Killeen City Council to promote and encourage the highest standard of conduct for elected city officials and officials appointed to city boards and commissions who represent the citizens of Killeen. The members of City Council support the philosophy that elected officials and appointed board members act in a manner that avoids even the appearance of impropriety. And it continues to say each elected official or appointed board member shall, at a minimum, comply with all state laws and city ordinances and policies regarding ethical behavior. Elected and appointed officials shall always act in the public interest rather than in furtherance of self-interest or those of special interest. And the council recognizes that it cannot by policy define ethical behavior, but expects each elected or appointed official to act conscientiously in public service, recognizing the public is best served when elected or appointed officials make decisions and act in a manner that promotes confidence by the citizens of Killeen in the process of city government. And so that's that's the beginning of the ethics section, and the governing standards continue to say that within 30 days of appointment to a board or commission, each official signs and delivers a copy of the ethics policy agreement, a copy of the standards of conduct agreement. The standards of conduct, as you recall, are the 8 principles that are to be followed, and then also a disclosure statement disclosing any real property owned by that person or relative within the first degree of consequency or affinity within the Killeen city limits or ETJ. The governing standards continue and include provisions regarding acceptance of gratuities, use of facilities, personnel, equipment, how to conduct in commercial transactions, representing interests contrary to those of the city, conflicting interests in legal proceedings, disclosure of personal financial interests, abstention from voting, and then also communications with applicants or petitioners. So there's sections on each of those things. And then to end on appointments and removals, appointed board and commission members serve at the pleasure of the city council. So there are some boards and commissions, a few, that have statutory limitations on removals, but in absence of state or local law prohibiting or limiting council authority, and that there isn't anything with regard to planning and zoning, then the council may remove its appointees at any time for any reason. I believe, that was the last slide. We're here for any questions.
Okay. Councilmember Brown.
I guess first, is there anything that we have to approve or authorize?
In terms of
this item, any of the changes that were made?
No, there's nothing. This was an item requested to be informational.
Okay, and then it says that they amended their rules and procedures on June 8th. What were some of those amendments? Because that actually did not end up making it into our package.
I apologize for that. As I recall, the changes that were adopted in June were related to consistencies with the governing standards. So there were some discrepancies identified between the rules and procedures and the governing standards, and so we made some minor changes. For example, including something in there that if you abstain, you must file a conflict of interest affidavit, and otherwise it's recorded as a negative vote, things like that.
So basically, to kind of mirror what we have?
Yes, ma'am.
I guess instead of me speculating on it, can you just send us a copy
Sure,
as it
absolutely.
looks, and then maybe the red line that went into that, if you still have the red line?
Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilmember Kendricks.
Ms. Meshner, I just have one question. I know I really didn't want to talk about it, but because we already just talked about the budget. But is there any way where they receive some type of formal training on what's actually expected of the P&Z? Just like a new council member goes through a little bit of training. Is there anything out there for them or something that?
Yes, sir. So anytime a new planning and zoning commissioner is appointed, staff does meet with them one-on-one to go over the roles and responsibilities of the Planning and Zoning Commission. We go over the comprehensive plan and the code of ordinances and the types of applications that'll come before the commission. We discuss the public notification requirements, the public hearing requirements. And then beyond that, typically during the first meeting of the new seated commissioners, legal staff does do a presentation that goes over the Open Meetings Act, conflicts of interest, those sorts of things. And then beyond that, the commission does have the opportunity to attend the annual American Planning Association Texas Chapter Conference. So we've had several commissioners that have attended that over the years.
So you said they have the opportunity. Are we making it a requirement? Or
We do not
just-
make it a requirement, so last year it was available to all the commissioners. I don't know if it'll be something that we can accommodate in the budget this year to allow them
Right,
all to
and
attend,
that's why I said
but in the past, they've all had the opportunity, yes, sir. I think 2 or possibly 3 commissioners went last year.
I'm good.
Councilmember Bass.
I have 3 questions. First is, what is the one sentence, if that's possible, description of the exact, specific purview of this commission?
So the Planning and Zoning Commission, their primary responsibility is to review and make recommendations to this body on zoning items, ordinance amendments, future land use map amendments, and comprehensive plan amendments.
Okay. Is it within the purview of the Planning and Zoning Commission to decide whether or not a particular type of industry is or is not welcome in the city of Killeen?
No, sir.
Is it within the purview of the Planning and Zoning Commission to decide whether a particular geographic area in Killeen city limits does or does not have adequate cell phone coverage?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Councilmember Kendrick and I put this on the agenda collectively because it is important as we're going through working on our processes and things and getting information in place that we have clear defined roles and understand exactly what is expected and what is not. Planning and zoning is a very important part of our process. But as far as I'm concerned, they're also the very first face that our customers, consumers that are moving in or potentially looking to come to our area to do business. They're the very, very first face that, so to speak, the very first face that they see. And so it's extremely important that they fully understand that role and understand that level of responsibility and that it's very clear and very defined. And so there have been some things that have kind of led up to this over the years, but we found that there was not some consistency, whether it was in training or whatever, that kind of led to that. So there's a question I have. This is, the training was optional that they go through with you. It's not mandated, though. Is that correct? The initial onboarding? Is it like is it mandated?
It's not in writing anywhere.
It's
that
not mandated in
required,
writing,
but I
right?
believe that all commissioners have met with staff.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you. And then as far as their roles and responsibilities, to Councilmember Bass's question, is that clearly defined for them also and laid out in the beginning when they accept that commission?
When I meet with the newly appointed commissioners after they've already been appointed, yes, ma'am, I do.
And it is in writing for them, laid out clearly?
It's in the code of ordinances, but is there a single-page
I'm
document
thinking
that
like an
outlines the
employee
responsibility?
onboarding kind of process. So yes, ma'am. Is it something similar to that?
There's the rules and procedures, that's it.
Okay, very good. All right, and so there's on one of the slides, we use the term, it says avoid the look of impropriety, and we don't really touch on the professional conduct. Do you all touch on professional conduct as it relates to planning and zoning, or any of our boards actually, when they are appointed?
I do not. As I said, during their first meeting, legal typically provides a briefing to the newly seated commissioners regarding, again, standards of conduct.
Thank you for going over it again with me, because if we're really trying to clean up a lot of our processes, and we want to make sure we have something in place, because it's only going to help the people that join these boards and commissions to understand clearly. So it would just help me understand a little bit better as well, exactly what that looks like for them, so that when we create that process for them, it's clear and defined.
I can also send you, I know you request, or somebody requested a copy of the updated rules. I can also send you a copy of the presentations we've used in the past, and I believe that we have included conflicts of interest, also the role of P&Z, and where we referenced certain statutory references to what the zoning commission does, and also I think we include Robert's Rules of Order in that as well. But I can send you the presentation we sent to them, that we present to them.
I think that would be useful. That would be very helpful. And is there an ex parte communication policy for them? Communication policy for them? There is?
There is a communication policy they're supposed to also give to the city secretary anytime they've communicated with an applicant prior to the meeting, and then that information will go to the chair, so that can be announced to the, that is in the governing standards.
Outstanding. So one of the things that I thought was kind of unfair, and I don't know if there's, because I don't really see that we had a process in place. So if for some reason there was somebody that had to be removed from a board or commission, there was no way for us to, I guess, to have a conversation or to discuss with that person. There's no process to say, here's what went wrong, or here's what, I'm not saying anybody on that board in particular, I'm just thinking in general. But there was nothing for us as a council member that provides oversight to these commissions and boards. There was nothing for us to say, a process for us to follow to say, this is why we are doing this outside of coming before council. Is that correct? Is that pretty much the only way?
I
Did they
would
get it
say
in writing, or?
with some of our boards and commissions, you have the two-person subcommittees. And so when you have council subcommittees, there is more of the subcommittee can then meet and discuss with the commissions. With P&Z, though, that's a full council appointment. There's no subcommittee for P&Z.
And there's not a process in place for even the subcommittees at this point, is my understanding as well. Is that correct?
Not to my
For
knowledge.
removal, right? Okay. Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Councilmember Kimball.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, since May, this council has spent a lot of time working on our governing standards, the way we operate. And we are put here by the citizens through an election or an appointment for some of us, me in particular. And but we hold ourselves to the standards that we've set today in the last few weeks. And then one of our duties that we have to do is appoint people to boards and commissions. And when you think of that selection process, it's pretty easy. One day I sat at this desk and it was full of names of people who I may or may not have known. And if I knew your name, or I thought I maybe saw you and you were on a board or commission. I think that's how it would work for those who have been here for a while. And I went along with it. And the reason we're discussing this today because there are issues. I've seen video. I've talked to citizens. I've talked to business owners. There are issues the way P&Z operates. And I know other municipalities do it. There is something when we make an appointment, we have something tangible to evaluate someone's criteria, besides just a name on a piece of paper. We started this process by having the open house. Great turnout. We get to interact with someone and say, hey, how you doing? Welcome to the community. What's your interest? Hey, I like animals, or I like this. I'm a mechanic. So you say, hey, you will be good for this. So I think as we move forward and we look at the way people are selected to boards, particularly P&Z, again, because they're the first face that business owners select, that there should be some kind of criteria to say, hey, I would like to be on P&Z. Really? Well, hey, what's your resume? Why do you want to do this? What is your interest? What do you bring to this commission? So, as we look through our continued discussion, I would like to see maybe one or two open houses a year. So as we talk to our citizens and make boards and selections for boards and commissions, and some kind of resume or something that what skill set do you have that would make you a valuable member of the committee? I know other municipalities do it. I would like to see Killeen move in that direction without, it wouldn't, that's just me. Of course, the majority of council would have to agree. And again, talking to the citizens, I'd like to, love to have discussions with them about that soon. But I think as we try to, quote unquote, clean up things, that having a more formal process besides your name on a piece of paper and, hey, I know you, and put you on the boards of commission, particularly P and Z. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Kendricks.
Last thing I got is short. I think I've talked with a few of the members over there on the P&Z board, and I just think things started to change a little bit. I started coming to the P&Z a little more often, and I think we as council members need to attend that meeting. Meaning if we attend it on a rotational basis, I will tell you the things that I've seen. I've seen people come in there on time once they knew that I was going to be there, or Mayor Pro Tem Gonzalez. And I think, like we say, we have oversight, and if we're there on a rotational basis, they see somebody and we're annotating whether or not they was on time or how long they came, or how long it took them to get there. That was a great thing, because now I see them gearing toward trying to be there on time, because we talk about the customer and everything, and that is very important with that. So I don't know, council, what do y'all think about that? I mean, I'm trying to go to it every time they have one, but I think the more oversight that we have and we present ourselves there, it lets them know, hey, I got to be on track with everything I'm doing, and I got to uphold a standard. So that's just my 2 cents in it. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilmember Kendrick, thank you for saying that. I do think it does make a difference, and whether we can be there physically or online to watch and then also provide that feedback is extremely important. But I just think that in general, to all the points that we made, I wanted to bring it to council to see what your thoughts were as we're working on creating processes. This is something that I do all day, every day. It's part of my job. It's part of my wheelhouse and my personal tick. So I would like to be able to start a draft of something. If you guys are, if we can get the consensus to agree, I'd be happy to draft a start, and then turn it over to staff to help us enhance it and make sure it's all within the right parameters. But I would be happy to do that for us if we could get a consensus, Mr. Mayor, for council to allow me to start a draft process for onboarding for our board members.
With that motion.
Not just consensus. I don't think it's a motion. No? It's not need a formal motion for that.
City Attorney.
I mean, you're just wanting council to agree that you can draft
Yes, ma'am.
something and then send it to staff
Yes, ma'am.
to vet, and then you'll want it. But
Yes, ma'am.
does that include a bring it back? And that maybe that would be the motion of
Thank
direction
you.
if you wanted it to be brought
Then,
back.
yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. So, yes, thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Williams. So, yes, I would like to make a motion that I will start a draft procedure for onboarding for primarily, we'll start with planning and zoning. So, make a motion that I will start the draft and turn it over to staff to review, enhance, to bring it back then to council for review and further discussion.
I think that's great. Mayor Pro Tem, there's a motion, that was a motion, right? Mayor Pro Tem, is there a second? Councilmember Brown?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, there's no discussion. All in favor signify by saying yes. All opposed, no. Motion carries 6-2. The motion carries 6-0. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I think that's we've got to police that area. Is there anything, Councilmember Brown? No, sorry, it was. Okay. Ms. Mercer, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
If there's nothing else, thank you. Madam Secretary.
DS 26067, discuss establishing quarterly joint meetings between City Council and the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay, I'm going to, it's in your, you have the floor, Mayor Pro Tem Gonzalez.
Thank you. Councilmember Kendrick and I brought this one forward as well. This all goes in line with what we were just talking about as far as a clear process. But we've already put it in our standards for a joint workshop with planning and zoning. I do think it's important that then we have to lay out the process of what do those meetings look like. And so as far as I'm concerned, I think that those meetings should definitely be informational and strategic in nature. And the why is to preserve, of course, the integrity of the commission. While we don't want to impact their business, it is important, though, that there is a shared understanding of the city's long-term vision and direction. Also, to reduce public policy conflicts and to give the commissioners clear guidance on our legislative priorities, and also improve coordination and quality conversations where strategic discussions happen. So this is just in line with our previous discussion, and my hope that during those quarterly meetings that we've already approved, now we just need to add some structure to that, so I'll be incorporating that as well as part of the onboarding process. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Brown.
I don't know. I think this would be the appropriate time to discuss it, but when do you think you would like to start having these quarterly meetings so that way we can start establishing that calendar and timeline? If I could ask for clarity from the
Yes, you
pro
may.
tem.
You
Thank
may. Open discussion.
Thank you. So I think I just heard Councilmember Kendrick say October. Do we have consensus? Do we think October would be a fair time? It's a very valid question. I think October would make sense to me as well, sir.
So essentially just follow the fiscal
I think we
quarters. So I would make a motion of direction then that we plan to hold our first quarterly joint meeting in October and then every quarter thereafter.
I second it.
Okay. It was motion of direction by Councilmember Brown, Councilmember Bass.
I second the motion. I think that's a great idea.
Already second.
Well, let me.
Oh, it's already been seconded? Okay. Then my
Let me say
two
this.
cents is.
Let me say this.
I
If you do
support.
not request to speak, I cannot recognize you. You must push the button. I'm asking council to help me do that, please, to keep the order. I need to because I can't hear from both sides. I need for y'all to push the request button, and if it doesn't work, please just raise your hand and say I did. I tried to push it. Please help me, help you. Okay, thank you so much. So it was second. It was second by Councilmember Bass. Any discussion? Councilmember Williams second, but Councilmember Williams second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes. All opposed, no. The motion carries 6-0. Thank you, council. Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, that's it?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay, we'll move forward with the executive session. We will move into that pursuant to the Texas Open Meeting Law, Government Code 551001. The mayor now calls a closed meeting of the City Council on the 21st day of July, 2026 at 7:02. Under the following authority, Section 551.71, the agenda item will be DS-26-058. And Section 551071. We're consulting with the attorney, and that's agenda item DS-26068. The city council will consult with legal counsel regarding pending and contemplated litigations. We're now going to executive session. Thank you. Call this meeting back from executive session at 8:47. And there was on item, I have this, agenda item DS 26-058, no action was taken. And DS -26068, no action was taken. And again, it's 8:47. Okay, that's it. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Councilmember Brown?
Move to adjourn.
Councilmember Kimball?
A second.
Okay, can I get it all in favor? Aye. Aye.